Good morning, everyone. Welcome in here on this 15th day of December for this webinar brought to you by Iowa SourceLink. My name is Patrick Linsman. I'll be your host and facilitator for all of our sessions today. We're excited to have quite a few different partners here to present all across everything GovConnect Iowa. I work at the University of Northern Iowa and work on the IA SourceLink platform, which is where small businesses can get connected to resources like the Department of Revenue and all the other presenters for today. We run that in partnership with the Iowa Economic Development Authority. So hopefully now that's got everyone else loaded in. A couple of things that you're going to need to know as we go throughout today's sessions. We're going to stick to the agenda that was posted both in the registration and online. So that may mean that we might not get to your questions. If we don't get to those questions, we'll be able to follow up with those outside of the session. We're going to try and stick really quickly to the schedule. So if you don't have that up, you can go grab that from iowasourcelink.com. And so if you can put the link in the chat. This whole thing is recorded. So all of these are going to be available after the fact to go back, check, see what you missed, get verification, or you can watch it at a later date if you can't be here with us for the whole session today. If you do have questions, we've got the whole Q&A box there. If you've got questions, please enter them. We'll be able to either try to answer them live. We've got Terry and Emily and Chet for the Department of Revenue sections that could potentially answer them through text while Jerica is presenting. Or if we again can't get to those, or if there's too specific to answer for the webinar today, we'll definitely be able to follow up with you and get those answers. So if you've got them, please put them in there. With that, I think everyone has now had 2 minutes to load in. We've got the attendees full. We're going to go ahead and get started. Our first presenter this morning is Jerica Pellington. She's going to be covering how you register your tax account in GovConnect Iowa. Go ahead, Jerica.
All right.
Are you ready? Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like you're passing it over to me. So right. I will say, hi, everyone. My name is Jerica, and I am one of the dedicated GovConnect Iowa staff members, and I'm fairly new to the webinar front. Like Patrick said, we will have two IDR employees joining us today. We have Terry O'Neill, our longtime taxpayer service specialist, and we have Emily Banks. Like he said, they will be answering your questions in the Q&A. So feel free to drop those questions there. Anything that we don't get to today, we will be adding additional guidance out to our website and potentially adding any common questions to our website as well. So the first thing we always have to do, if you've ever been to one of our webinars, we do have to give you our disclaimer. So please note that this presentation is for general educational purposes only and should not be construed in any way as legal advice. The department could take a contrary position for this in the future, so please be aware of that. What we say here today is not binding on the department unless you wish to obtain a declaratory order. Any data that is used in today's examples is fictional, and we do not include actual taxpayer data. What we're going to cover here today is an overview of tax account registration in GovConnect Iowa. I'm going to show you how to register a new business, request access to your existing accounts, and how to add a new tax account. We will also talk about the GovDelivery subscription, which is an email subscription that lets you keep in touch with the department. So I'm going to start there. Before we dive into GovConnect Iowa, let's talk about the GovDelivery subscription. So to subscribe to those updates, you should head to our website, tax.iowa.gov, and you can scroll to the bottom of that page, and you can click on subscribe to updates. We talk about this at nearly every webinar or event at the department because this is a good way to stay informed with things happening at the Department of Revenue. Remember that it's better to have the information and not need it than need the information and not have it. You can subscribe by email or text message, and it doesn't cost you anything. Here are some of the topics that are included in the email subscription service, including GovConnect Iowa. And with that, we can go ahead and move forward with the webinar. So I'm going to kick out of this presentation and head to GovConnect Iowa. All right, so on the GovConnect Iowa home screen, we can see that we have this registration section, and we have links to register for a new business, sign up for GovConnect Iowa, or register as a bulk filer. The most common action a user will take here is to sign up for GovConnect Iowa and use the logged in features. One major change with GovConnect Iowa has to do with passwords. So you no longer have to contact the department to reset your password. You can reset it on your own through GovConnect Iowa by clicking this Forgot Password hyperlink on the home page. Another major change is that passwords expire after 18 months. When your password expires, you will be prompted to update it the next time you log into GovConnect Iowa. So for the first scenario, let's create a GovConnect Iowa logon. So we'll click this hyperlink. The first step when creating a GovConnect Iowa logon is to identify if you are here to register a new business, as in a brand new business that has not filed or registered with the Iowa Department of Revenue, or you can request access to existing accounts. So by selecting the second option, this means that you have filed before or you have an active permit with the department. So in this case, let's go ahead and choose, I'm here to register a new business. When you're creating a new account, you are required to enter in your personal information. And one thing to know is that GovConnect Iowa accounts are specific to each person, and each user should have their own GovConnect Iowa login. So let's enter this person's information now. And then we need to click the reCAPTCHA button before continuing to indicate human input. Now we can see the email validation screen. When you selected next on that previous screen, it automatically sent a verification email to the email that you provided. If you don't receive that email, there are some items on the screen that you can try on your own, and you will be able to hopefully troubleshoot and get that email to your inbox. Since I am not in the live environment, I am able to populate this validation code. So I will do that now. It is important to note that this validation code is different from the access code that you may have received in the mail. This validation code can only be received via email because it's verifying your email address is legitimate. That access code that you received is used to gain access to your tax accounts, and we'll talk about it later in this webinar. Here we can review this information. And then once you review and you submit this information, you're going to be sent to this confirmation screen. It is extremely important that you keep this confirmation number for your records. If you need to contact the department regarding that request, if you give the customer service representative this confirmation number, they'll be able to assist you quicker. So since our login has been created, now we can log in to GovConnect Iowa. During this step, we are required to set up two-step verification. In this case, I will choose the text message option. So here you would enter in the security code that was sent to that phone number. Again, because I am not in the live environment, I can populate this. And we will go ahead and verify the phone number. And once it has been verified, now we can review the registration options. So you'll see that there are 3 sections available in GovConnect Iowa. You can either register your new business, you can request access to an existing account, or you can enter an access code to connect to an account. You also have the ability to manage other licenses with our partner agencies. So in this scenario, we wanted to register a new business. So let's click that hyperlink now. So you'll notice that the department has provided a list of information necessary to register a new business. So here we would choose our business type, which would drive the questions that are asked on future steps. So in this scenario today, I'm going to choose a limited liability company. And then you will be required to enter the new business information, including the name, FEIN, and the business address. So I can see that I have the street and I have the state. Let's go ahead and verify this address with the United States Postal Service. All right, I can see that that address has been verified and I can save it and we'll select next. And this is asking if the mailing address is different from the headquarters address. I will select no and keep going. So when you register a business, you are prompted to enter in contact information. So this person would be listed if they can be contacted by the department regarding your tax account. Then the user would enter officers, members, or managers. The types of roles listed here vary based on the business type that you chose at the beginning. Note that there is no limit on the amount of officers, members, or managers that can be entered here. So on this screen here, we'll go ahead and click add, and you'll want to remember to scroll down to complete the rest of the fields. If you don't complete a required entry on this screen, you'll see a red exclamation mark that indicates that there's an error. So let's go ahead and enter in this information. See this red asterisk? This means that it's a required field. Let's go ahead and enter in the address information again. All right, so I've entered in the street and the state here. Let's go ahead and see if we can verify that address. We can see that it does populate the address that we need, and we have verified it again. So now I can select add, and you can see that there's no red exclamation point indicating that there was not an error on the screen. So next, we will be prompted to select the tax permits or licenses we need for the business. In this scenario, we will choose sales and withholding. So today we are focusing on what's available in GovConnect Iowa. If you're questioning what type of permit you need, or you have questions about registering a new business, we recommend going to our help information that's located on our website to guide you through this process. So now we can enter in our sales and withholding information for the new business. So first, let's answer some filing option questions. You'll notice that when we entered in the projected amount of sales tax, the filing frequency automatically populated. And we will also answer this question. In this scenario, we will not be adding a separate mailing address for the sales account, and we will also not be adding an additional sales contact. During this step, we are prompted to enter the location information. So here you want to, again, make sure that you're entering in all of the required fields required on this screen. So if there's a red asterisk, that means that it's required and you can't move forward with your registration until it's complete. For the location name, here is where you would enter in your DBA name or the business name. Again, make sure that you are scrolling and answering all of the questions. If you don't answer a question, you'll see this red exclamation mark. So we are required to choose the activity code, which is commonly referred to as a NAICS code. So I will enter in my keyword now. And then we need to enter a description of the business. If you needed to apply for a new alcoholic beverage license or a new Iowa lottery license, you would indicate that here. In this scenario, we will not be applying for a new external license. So we will click add, and we can see that there is no red exclamation mark, meaning that there were no errors on this location. So now we can enter in our withholding account information. Again, you'll see that the filing frequency pre-populated. Again, we will not be adding a separate mailing address or an additional contact. So now that we have input all of our business information, we can review the information that we had input prior to submitting it. So once I click submit, it's going to require that I enter in my password, which serves as the electronic signature. Once I click OK, it'll take us to a confirmation screen. And I will tell you that most new business registrations are available immediately. However, some do require additional review by the department. So if you do not see your accounts right away, we recommend that you log out and log back in to view your accounts. So I will show you that now. Here you can see that the account information did not populate immediately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log off and I'm going to log back in, and we should be able to view those accounts. And so it is asking for us to verify that security code. And we have done that. I'll select trust this device and we confirm it. So now we can see that once we verified that information, we can now see those new business accounts that we just set up. And we have the ability to make a payment, file returns, or add, update, or close locations. So I know that that was a quick run through, but now I want to switch gears and move on to the second portion, which is where I show you how to request access to existing accounts. So in this scenario, we will be creating an account as a taxpayer that is already active with the Department of Revenue. So let's log out of this new business account and let's go back to the GovConnect Iowa home screen. So I will tell you that e-file and pay is still available for individual or corporate estimates, but business tax types such as sales and withholding, as we just saw, are now utilizing GovConnect Iowa. So let's go ahead and create a logon. So in the previous scenario, we registered a new business. In this scenario, we're going to create a logon for an existing business. So this means that you're already registered and active with the Department of Revenue. As a current Iowa tax permit holder, your tax accounts have been migrated to this new system, but you will be required to set up a new logon and enter an access code to access your existing accounts. It's important to note that e-file and pay logons cannot be used in GovConnect Iowa. We have sent out initial welcome letters, which some of you may have already received. Those were mailed to the headquarters or primary mailing address on file for all active sales, use, withholding, and fuel tax accounts. We expect that those letters will continue to be mailed until mid-January. However, if you haven't received your welcome letter yet, that's no problem. You can actually create an account and request an access code through this process, and we'll go through that now. So when we select I'm here to request access to existing accounts, you'll see that 4 options populated. Remember, you should always create a web logon using your own email address, and here's why. So let's talk about when you would select each option. If you select I am the business owner, this would indicate that you own the business and you need to complete an action on behalf of your business. If you are a tax professional that owns your own business, you could sign up under this option, then request access to your client's accounts as a third party. I am an employee acting on behalf of my employer means that the user is an employee of the business and plans to complete tax actions on behalf of that business. I am a third-party representative or tax professional would be used if you plan to act or file on behalf of your clients. You are required to enter in your client's account information when signing up, and an access code letter would be sent to your client's primary mailing address. You would need to obtain that code from your client to gain access to their accounts on GovConnect Iowa. Once you receive that code, you would be able to log back in and enter the access code. Remember that if you are a tax professional, you should enter your own email address and not use your client's email address. Another important reminder that bulk filers would not use this option. They will use this option, which we'll get to next. Remember that you do not have to create an account to file a return or make a payment because those services are also available to non-logged in users. So for bulk filers, we would be able to select that I am a certified service provider link here. And this would be used if you are registered as a bulk filer with the Department of Revenue and you intend to bulk file on behalf of your clients. Bulk filing is typically used by large companies, payroll companies, and fiduciaries that need to report for multiple taxpayers and make payments. Bulk file upload does not require you to have access to your client's accounts in order to bulk file on their behalf. Once you have selected the option that best suits your relationship to the business, you can move forward. So in this scenario, I am going to select I am the business owner, and note that this process is going to be similar for the first three. So let's go ahead and enter in our information similar to when we created the logon to register for a new business. It is important to note that an email address can only be linked to one FEIN as a business owner or employee. So if you are a business owner and own multiple businesses, the expectation is that you would have a separate email address and GovConnect Iowa account for each business. So if you only have one email address, you could sign up as the business owner here and then request third-party access to your other business accounts. So we'll go ahead and click that reCAPTCHA button again and select next. So remember, when you are creating your GovConnect Iowa account, you are required to validate your email address before continuing. Because I'm not in the live environment, I can populate the code here. During this step, the user is asked if they have an access approval code. If you or a client received a GovConnect Iowa welcome letter containing an access code, you would be able to provide it here by answering yes. If you have not received that letter or you do not have a code, you can select no and click next to request one. So in this scenario, the business owner, Jane, has not received her welcome letter yet and would like to request an access code. So here we will be prompted to choose the account type, enter the account's permit or account number, and enter account-specific information. So this business does have an existing sales account, so we chose that option. When the data was migrated to the new system, new account numbers were assigned for various taxes. This does not change any federal account numbers, and the old numbers will still be accepted on returns, but it's a good practice to start using these new numbers wherever possible, including that IDR ID. The department will accept the 9 or 12-digit number on this screen. So we also need to verify another piece of account-specific information. So here I'm going to enter in the BIN. Note that BINs are specific to the e-file and pay system, and they will not be used once this GovConnect Iowa account has been created. So let's do a final review of the information that we entered to create this account, and we will submit it. So after completing the steps to create your logon and request access to your accounts, an access code and instructions will be mailed to the headquarters or primary address on file, and know that the letters are typically mailed the following business day. So once you've created your logon, now we can get logged in. Similar to our previous scenario, let's go ahead and set up the two-step factor here. All right, so once you have received the security code, we can enter it here and confirm. So again, this is the home screen. This page will be the same for any new GovConnect Iowa user, but they have different options once we get here. When we created our logon, we requested an access code to connect to that existing account. Like I said, access codes are mailed the following business day and can take 7 to 10 business days to be received. So once you receive your code, you'd be able to log back into GovConnect Iowa and choose enter access code to connect to an account. So let's go ahead and do that. And I will get the access code here. And I will enter it now. So if you are a third party or a tax professional and you received your client's welcome letter, you can enter the access code on that welcome letter here to connect to their tax accounts through GovConnect Iowa. So once this access code has been verified, now we can see that the accounts will be linked. So we submitted it. We clicked OK, and we can see that it redirected us back to the home screen where we can see this existing sales account. From here, you'd be able to make a payment, file, amend, or view returns, or you could also add, update, or close a location. You also have many options from the More tab. We know that there are a lot of questions about third-party access, and that will actually be talked about in our next webinar, which begins at 10:30. So here we're going to move on to the final portion of this webinar, and this is how I will show you how to add a location to your existing account, which means that you would be filing a consolidated return, or you could add a new location entirely, meaning that you plan to file separate tax returns. Before adding any additional accounts, we ask that you make sure that you have access to your existing accounts. So if you would like to add a location to an existing sales permit resulting in a consolidated tax return filing, you would start on the summary screen here, and you would locate that associated account. When you're filing a single sales tax return, GovConnect Iowa will ask you for a breakdown of each location to make sure that the information is calculated correctly. So in this white space to the right, you can see that we have the add, update, or close locations hyperlink. And by adding a new location here, this means that it will be filed on a single sales tax return. You also have the option to close a permit location and update the current permit location information. Know that if you do choose to close the permit location, that permits cannot be reinstated, and you must apply for a new permit once this one is closed. If your intention is to file multiple tax returns, you would need to go back here and go out to the More tab. And then what you would want to do is navigate to the tax account maintenance panel here. So here you would be able to click Add New Tax Account or Tax Type. If you plan to file separate tax returns for multiple locations, know that you must add an account for each location. So let's select Add New Tax Account or Tax Type. Say that you are a new business and you're hiring employees, you would be able to apply for a withholding permit by doing this action. So here we can see that the headquarters address pre-populated, but you can update this screen if the business location varies. If there's a different mailing address used for correspondence from the department, we'll be able to add it on a future screen. So let's go ahead and re-verify this address. So we will be prompted to enter in that tax account type. So in this scenario, Jane owns Cozy's Bar and she has an existing sales permit, but she needs to file for a withholding permit. So we selected withholding, and let's go ahead and keep going here. So again, you can see the filing frequency is automatically configured. To see how it was determined, you can click on this help hyperlink. And then let's go ahead and enter the withholding agent information. All right, so we can see there are a lot of options available for this street. So let's go ahead and verify our address here. We are not going to be adding a separate mailing address or an additional contact. And then we will be able to review the information here for this withholding account. And we'll enter in our password. And then we'll be able to click OK. And when we go back to the summary screen, we can see that this withholding account has been added. Since this is the first time that we're accessing this withholding account, we can choose add access to this account, and then we can grant ourselves all access from this drop-down menu and click save. So you will see that new options are available for this account when we click save, such as making a payment and filing, amending, or viewing a return. So hopefully this information is helpful for you when you're registering for a new tax account. I know that we did not leave a lot of time for questions. However, we do see that your questions are coming in. So we will be able to answer those during the next Q&A portion, or they will be available on our website. So I will say, Patrick, I will go ahead and pass this one back to you.
All right, yeah, Jerica, great job. So that was the first look at just tax account registrations, really a step-by-step walkthrough on how you're doing that and the steps to make sure that you're filling out the required fields, making sure you have that information in there for you to get your tax account set up for the first time, and doing any of those different pieces. As Jerica mentioned, if you do have hanging questions in the Q&A, hopefully some of those will be addressed either in the next section about other parties and secondary access. If your question is too specific, you may get a message that says follow up with the department. So please go ahead and do so and do that. And for everyone that has asked, I'll post the link again here as we get started. There are different slide decks for each of the sections. So as we go through different sections, you can get all of those off iSourceLink, and we'll be posting those links into the chat as we roll through to the different sections. And each one is going to be recorded and posted as a video on the Iowa SourceLink YouTube channel and shared out through a reminder email through the webinar platform. So you'll make sure you'll be able to keep up to date with all of that. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump into the second portion here today, where we're going to be looking at the other parties and secondary access. So Jerica, when you are ready, we can go ahead and put that slideshow up. We're going to go ahead and look at how you can provide access to other parties like tax professionals and accountants, requesting access to your client's tax accounts, and then creating other additional secondary logons. So Jerica, whenever you're ready.
Congratulations. You get to hear me for the second portion of the webinar as well. For those of you that are just now joining, I will tell you that my name is Jerica Pellington. I am one of the dedicated GovConnect Iowa staff members, and I am fairly new to the webinar front. You will see that we do have two other staff members joining us today. We have Terry O'Neill, our longtime taxpayer service specialist, and Emily Banks. They will be helping answer questions in the Q&A portion. I do expect that we will have some additional time at the end of this webinar to begin answering your questions. So let's go ahead and get started. This is for the new folks that joined us for this portion. First thing we always have to do in a webinar is we do have to give you this disclaimer. So please note that this presentation is for general educational purposes only, and it should not be construed in any way as legal advice. The department could take a contrary position for this in the future, so please be aware of that. What we say here today is not binding on the department unless you wish to obtain a declaratory order. Any data that are used in today's examples are fictional and do not include actual taxpayer data. So repeating what Patrick had said earlier, what we're going to be covering during this portion is an overview of other party and secondary logon features and how to complete those actions in GovConnect Iowa. So our topics will include how to provide access to other parties, how to request access to a client's tax account, and how to create a logon for an employee. Again, we're just going to briefly touch on the GovDelivery subscription, which is an email subscription that lets you keep in touch with the department. So before we dive into that GovConnect Iowa portion, to subscribe to those GovDelivery updates, you would go out to our website, which is tax.iowa.gov. You would scroll to the bottom of the page and you would be able to see subscribe to updates. Like I had said previously, it's better to have the information and not need it than need the information and not have it. You do have the option to subscribe by email or text message, and it doesn't cost you anything. So here are the topics that are included in that email subscription service. GovConnect Iowa is included on this list. So with the housekeeping out of the way, let's talk about this topic. So I'm going to start by talking about the new terminology that you're seeing within our new system. So we have the terms third-party authorization and other party access listed on various screens. Your tax information is generally confidential. By completing a third-party authorization form, such as the 2848 power of attorney, the 8821 tax information disclosure designation, or a representative certification form, you are authorizing another person to communicate with the department or act on your behalf. They could be doing both. You do have the right to designate another individual to access your confidential tax information. You also have the right to authorize another person to act on your behalf. Because we take confidentiality and information security seriously, certain forms must be completed to make either of these authorizations. With GovConnect Iowa, now a third party can be identified as an other party. So this means that they have requested or you have granted them access to your accounts online through GovConnect Iowa. If they have other party authorization, this means they can see your account information online and they can file returns on your behalf, make payments, add new locations, as well as a variety of other options. It is important to note that third-party authorization does not equate to GovConnect Iowa online access. So even though a third-party authorization form is completed, online access must be granted separately. Similarly, by having online access, that does not equate to third-party authorization with the department. You must complete both of these actions to give both rights. So this means that you would have to grant them access in GovConnect Iowa and submit a third-party authorization form in order for that third party to communicate with the department on your behalf. There are 3 forms that may be used to grant or revoke third-party authorization. You can complete the 8821 tax information disclosure designation, the Iowa 2848 Iowa power of attorney, or the representative certification form. These forms can be submitted electronically on GovConnect Iowa or via paper. To learn more, you can go to the department website to find detailed information about each of those forms. Now that we have identified the difference between third-party authorization and other party access, let's move into the access roles within GovConnect Iowa. So the access roles for business owners and employees is different from access for an other party. When a business owner or employee signs up for a GovConnect Iowa account, they are asked to enter an access code or request one. When an access code is received, they are directed to log back into GovConnect Iowa and enter the code to gain access to those accounts online. When an access code is entered by an employee or owner, they are granted administrator access. So this would mean that they can manage their own business tax accounts and complete various other actions like filing returns and making payments. They can also create and manage logons for other staff within their business and request password resets for the other staff members. An account manager can be designated when an administrator or business owner adds an additional logon for an employee. So this would give similar access as an administrator. However, they are not able to manage other logons or request password resets. An example of how this would be used would be if you are a business owner and you delegate your tax-related business to someone in the finance or accounting department. This employee would create their own GovConnect Iowa account and request access to the business account. By entering the access code that they receive, they are granted administrator access. They would then be able to add additional employees, either in the administrator role or as an account manager. Other party access roles are very similar to what the business owners or employees have. However, they are intended for third parties or tax professionals only. When a tax professional creates their own GovConnect Iowa account, they can request access to their client's account and identify themselves as the third party or tax professional. When they designate themselves as a third party or tax professional and they enter in that account verification information, their role would be identified as a other party administrator. So this would mean that they can manage the client's tax accounts and complete actions on behalf of the client. So that includes filing returns, making payments. They also have the ability to manage secondary logons for their employees and also request password resets. This access can also be granted by a business owner or employee in an administrator role when they select add an employee or other party logons. We will be able to see that further in this webinar. Other party account managers are delegated in the same manner as the business employee account manager role. The other party administrator would select manage secondary logons and create an account for their employee. We will discuss secondary logons in greater detail later in this webinar. To understand how these roles are connected to each other, we have created a hierarchy chart. The administrator has access to their business accounts and can control the access to their business for the account manager and for the other party administrator. It's important to note that an administrator cannot view or access other business tax accounts connected to an other party account. They can only view their own business information. Now that we've reviewed the hierarchy and we understand the difference in roles, let's take a look at GovConnect Iowa from a business owner or administrator perspective. So I'll be going through how to request access to an account and how to add an additional logon. To start, you would need to create a GovConnect Iowa account and enter an access code or request access to an existing account. In this screenshot, the business owner, Regina, already has access to Jones Heating and Air, but she is going to request access to another account. She can do this by going to the More tab and going to the My GovConnect Iowa Access section, or she can click Manage My Profile, head to the More tab, and manage the access there. Once she clicks request access to an account, she would be required to choose one of the following options. And it's important to note that an email address can only be linked to one FEIN as a business owner or employee. So if you are a business owner and you have multiple businesses, the expectation is that you would have a separate email address and GovConnect Iowa account for each business. We do understand that this option may not be ideal for business owners with multiple businesses. So if you only have one email address, you could sign up as the business owner for one business, then request access as a third party to your other business accounts. You would still be able to complete all of your tax-related actions. However, the ability to manage other employees or other party accounts for that business may be limited. When requesting access to an existing account, you will be required to verify information about your business. So this would include the permit or account number and a secondary piece of account-specific information like the e-file and pay bin, information from a recently filed return, or your IDR ID. You'll want to make sure that your access code letter matches the business that you are requesting access to. For example, if you are requesting access to ABC Company, make sure that the access code letter is meant for that business, not for another business that you may manage. It's important to note that you cannot use another business's access code to gain access to your business account. Once you have access to your tax account, now you can add an additional logon for either an employee or for another party. To do this, you would navigate back to the Manage My Profile screen. You would go to the More tab, and then you would be able to select Add an Employee or Other Party Logon. When you select that hyperlink, it will direct you to a new screen where you have to identify the relationship between that person and the business. So is this person another business owner, one of your employees, or are they a third-party representative or tax professional? By selecting one of these options, this is going to drive the questions that are available to you on future screens. After you have identified the relationship, you will need to enter their login information and select their type of access. The types of access will vary based on their relationship to the business. So you will see that there is additional information available on the right-hand side of the screen that explains which actions they will have access to when you select this option. After you add their email information, you can then select to grant them access to all of the accounts, or select no to specify which accounts they can have access to. Note that you will be required to select their access level as well as the periods that are available. You are also able to update this information after submitting this request. Once you input this information, you will be given a final opportunity to review what you've selected prior to submitting this request. Once you click submit, an email will be sent to the email address that you provided with instructions on what the next steps are. And those next steps are ultimately to create a new GovConnect Iowa account. To update or cancel your employee's access level or their account access, you can navigate back to Manage My Profile and select Update or Cancel Employee Logons. From there, you would be able to manage their account, resend the logon access email, see their account activity on GovConnect Iowa, and cancel or grant access to existing tax accounts. So now that we have reviewed the features that are available for business owners or administrators, I'm going to quickly switch to the perspective of a tax professional or a third party. The tax professional can designate someone in their office to serve as the administrator for GovConnect Iowa. So that employee would need to create their own GovConnect Iowa account, and they could set up other employee accounts as well. Once they have created their account and they have gained access to a client's account, they can go to Manage My Profile, click on the More tab, and go to the My Users section. Under this section, they would click Manage Secondary Logons. After we click Manage Secondary Logons, a new screen will appear showing the secondary logons. You can create and manage logons that only have access to customers and accounts that you have access to. The logons that are created here can act on your behalf to perform actions such as filing returns and making payments either for your business or for your clients, or even for both. You do have the ability to manage the access that they have. On this screen, we can see that there are 3 tabs available. So let's review those now. On the Secondary Logons tab, you can see which secondary logon accounts have already been created and update their access. On the Customer Security tab, you can see the businesses you have access to and which security group they belong to. The next tab involves security groups. A security group is a group that allows you the ability to designate specific access to a group of clients, so you do not have to choose the clients. Each time you add a new employee, you would just choose the security group. For example, if you would like your employee to only have access to other businesses that you have access to, you would select that option. If you would like your employees to have the exact same access as you do, you would select Mirror My Access. So on this screen, you can view the groups and you can also add additional security groups. So now that we've reviewed those 3 tabs, let's go back to adding a secondary logon. To add a secondary logon, you would click the Add hyperlink on the right side of the screen next to the Filter search bar. When you select the Add hyperlink, you'll notice it looks very similar to what a business owner or an administrator would see when they add an employee or other party. You'll notice that there are 2 additional bullet points here. One of those is that when a secondary logon is created, know that that user will be tied directly to your account. So if you lose access to customers or their accounts, this secondary logon would also lose access to that account. If you delete your profile, this user profile would also be deleted. So you would be able to enter in their name and their email information here and then select Next. On this screen, you would be able to select the security group and their account access. Once you click submit, an email would be sent to the email address that you provided earlier with instructions on what the next steps are. Again, the next steps are ultimately to create their own GovConnect Iowa account. Once that account is created, they will be able to log in and immediately perform actions on your behalf. After the secondary logon has been set up, you do have the ability to change their security group and update their account access settings. If you added the employee, but they have not received their email to create a GovConnect Iowa account, you can also click the resend logon access email here. So I will tell you, this is the information that I have for today's webinar on the other party and secondary logon access. However, now that we've reviewed those functions, I want to show you where the help information is. And so to do that, I am actually going to hop out of this presentation and go to our website. So you should be able to see now that I am on our website. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to go to hover over the need help category here, and then I would click on GovConnect Iowa Help. So once we get to the GovConnect Iowa Help screen, you'll see that it automatically takes us to these common questions. So what we do is after we have these webinars, we take the most common questions that we receive and we try to answer them here. So there is a chance that the question that you have has already been answered. If that's the case, you would be able to see it here, and you could also select View More Questions. And you'd be able to filter by GovConnect Iowa and type in the keyword. So for example, let's type in payment. So we can see that we do have different questions already submitted about payments. We do update this periodically, so it's a good option to go see if your question has already been answered. So going back to that GovConnect Iowa help screen, you'll see that we do have self-help options here and how-to instructions. So we have information about registering a new business, filing and amending returns, managing and making payments. And then when it comes to this topic, the reason that we're having this webinar today is about the logons and accounts. So when we click that, you can see that we've included quick steps to create your logon, as well as information about creating your account, passwords, accessing your tax accounts, adding additional ones, adding additional users, and updating your account information. We have added a lot of information out here that I hope will be helpful to you. If for some reason that you have questions that are not available on the website, you weren't able to find them in the common questions, that's where you can reach out to the Iowa Department of Revenue, reach out to our taxpayer services group, and they are more than happy to assist you. So I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. And Patrick, I will go ahead and pass it back to you.
Yeah, so great job, Jericho. I think now we've got time. Jericho, you don't get to go away quite yet. I think our next portion is for Q&A on access to GovConnect Iowa. And we'll go ahead and just start answering those questions now. We've got about 15 or 20 minutes that we can try to answer those questions in the chat. Again, if they're questions that are very specific to your situation, companies, your access, you're going to need to follow up with the department directly. That's not going to be something that we can answer during the webinar today. What we're going to try to do is just answer some clarifying questions that are in the Q&A, whether it be around procedure or general education pieces of that. So we also have a few other members of the Department of Revenue team that are online here. So between Emily, Chet, Terry, and Jericho, hopefully we'll be able to answer a few of those questions. So if you've got them open, Jericho, I'll let you kind of start. If you go through and see any that are of particular interest, I think there's definitely going to be, and maybe Chet can help answer this too, just some clarification around emails, email access, and just make sure that we're clear on the process of how we're creating additional accounts.
Definitely. So I will tell you, I have been speaking most of the time. I have not been able to pay close attention to these. Emily, have you seen any that you can answer right now? Otherwise, I'm going to start reading through some of these questions.
I'll let you go ahead and start reading through. We have gotten a couple of questions asking why the access codes aren't working. It looks like a couple of users are having issues trying to get connected using those access codes right now. So I have our tech team actively working on that. If you want to give them about an hour and try it again later, we should have it fixed relatively soon. So if you did try to follow along with Jerica and enter your access codes and it didn't work, that code should still be good. Just give it a couple hours and try it again in a little bit.
Sounds good. So Jerica, why don't we start with a question from Angela. What's the difference between the third-party account and a CSP account?
That will actually best be answered by Chet. Chet, are you available?
Yep, sorry, I was just responding to a Q&A. What was the question, Patrick? Sorry.
Yeah, so what's the difference between the third-party account and the certified service provider account, CSP account?
Okay. Essentially, they're the same thing. The only difference is that the certified service provider web logon has the bulk filing option to bulk file for your clients. So if you're a registered bulk filer, you will want to choose the certified service provider web logon creation. And then you'll still be able to request access to your individual clients' accounts, but you'll also have that bulk filer option available. Now, keep in mind, you do not need access to your client's account to bulk file. You only need to request access to their accounts if you want to file for them separately and do the key and send method and view all their account information.
Sounds good. So then for either Jerica or Chet then too, could you clarify what the difference between adding an employee or other party and the secondary logon?
Yes, definitely. So when it comes to adding an employee and a secondary logon, so that goes between the difference between being a business owner or a direct business employee or being a third party. So if you are a third party, that is where you would be seeing the managed secondary logons. And to add an employee or a third party, that is coming directly from someone associated with that business.
Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. That was Adrian's question.
I'm getting a lot of questions regarding employees who've already created a web logon, but then the business owner or maybe a manager wants to go and add them as a secondary user. Jared, can you go into a little more detail on that and on what the best method is to handle that and what the difference is between a secondary user and then if they already have they've already created a web logon?
So for this one here, this is one that I need to take a little bit of a closer look at. I want to make sure that I'm getting you the right answer. So I have noted these questions down. I'm going to do a little bit more research on my side, make sure that I have the right answer. And then what we can do is, Emily knows best here, but I believe that we can follow up with you directly and get an answer to you.
And it's a very common question, so we will post something on our website about that as well.
Thank you, Emily. So we have captured all of the questions that are here. Like I said, some of these may require that we go back, do a little bit of research, get an answer, and reach back out to you. So I think that is best for what we do today. And then I know that we're 2 minutes out until the next webinar is planning to begin. Patrick?
Sure. Our next webinar is more Q&A, Jerica. You're not kidding.
It is. Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay. Maybe I need to pay attention to my schedule a little bit better. No, sorry, okay. Everyone.
No, we've got an additional 15 minutes to really do Q&A over GovConnect Iowa Access. At 11:15, though, we will be jumping to the Department of Inspections and Appeals to cover their licenses that are in GovConnect Iowa. So for the next probably 10 to 12 minutes, and maybe we'll sneak in a short break, we're going to be doing Q&A on the GovConnect Iowa Access. So we do have, if there are some of those other general questions you want to answer, we can definitely try to address a few of those. Again, if your questions are being moved out or being answered, that's mostly so we can take a note of them. And as Jerica mentioned, follow up with you more directly. If you are having like specific access issues, please do reach out directly to the Department of Revenue. We'll do our best to answer general questions here during the webinar. but aren't able to answer probably super specific questions for your company directly. So, you know, just so everyone's wondering, because we've got also know that we've got like over 700 people watching here today, and there's like 100 plus questions right now. So as you see, is probably scrolling through and trying to read. That is what we're trying to do to make sure we're sorting through and find some. So let's see.
So one of the questions here, I'm just reading through these, is from Danette. Can you also be a secondary user for another client? So yes, you can be a secondary user for another client. So what this would be, say that you have an administrator, say that you're a tax professional and you are a manager of a group of accountants that are at your firm. You would be able to grant each of those employees access, and they would be able to view more than just that one account. They would be able to view multiple accounts. You would just have to add and maybe adjust their access to grant them access to those additional accounts.
Sounds good. And as maybe a general question, maybe this is one that Chet can answer. If you were a bulk filer before in the previous system, are you still registered as a bulk filer, or is that something you'd have to re-sign up for?
No, if you're the bulk filer status is still there, so you don't have to reapply. Again, to get that access, you need to create a web logon using the when they ask you who you are when you're creating a web logon, make sure you choose that I am a certified service provider option. And then again, you'll finish creating your web logon. Once you get into the system, you'll see that there is a bulk filing link there for you to bulk file.
Gotcha. And I think there's a question that you've answered quite a bit in Q&A chat. Maybe we can just answer it live. In terms of changing your mailing address, Jericho, or as you're looking to do changes to your account, I think specifically there around mailing addresses quite a bit, and that headquarters address, what's the method to go about changing that address?
Yeah, that's a good question. So on GovConnect Iowa, to change either your headquarters address and mailing address, you would actually go to the More tab, and where it goes, I need to remember the specific section here. Let me go ahead and pull it up. I want to make sure I'm giving you the right information. Bear with me.
While she looks that up, I'll cover the paper side of it. If you are worried that we might not have the right address on file because you're not receiving your access code or your welcome letter, we still always will take good old paper forms. You can go to the website and choose I need to change a permit, and it will show you the business change form, and you can request an address change through that.
So back to that names and addresses question here. So on GovConnect Iowa, once you get logged in, you would go to the More tab and you would find the names and addresses section. And then you do have the ability to click manage names and addresses. And from there, you have two different tabs. You have names and addresses. You would either click add, or you could directly click on the address that's already available and click change this address. And you can update it directly through your GovConnect Iowa account.
One of the questions, we get super excited about GovConnect Iowa, and we forget that not everybody knows the URL. So to go to GovConnect Iowa, you will go to govconnect.iowa.gov. If you have issues with that URL, you can go directly to our website and choose the big red online services button in the upper right-hand corner, and that will also get you there.
Yeah, but I will go ahead and post that quickly into the chat window once I find it again, wherever I lost it to. But no, that is also a good question. So let's put that in there.
Jericho, would you mind revisiting third-party authorization versus other-party access? Do you have that slide handy that we could pop up one more time?
I sure do. Let me share my screen with you. And this slide deck will be available to you as well. I know Patrick mentioned that. So just a heads up, the information that you have here, you will have available after this webinar. So here's where we're talking about third-party authorization and other party access. So third-party authorization really comes in when you are calling the department. That's the most common time that we see it. Say that you're going to contact taxpayer services, or you received an audit letter, or you received some communication from an IDR staff member about a client that you're working on behalf of. So this is when, if we have this third-party authorization form on file, we would be able to communicate with you and share confidential tax information. Without that third-party authorization form, we would not be able to discuss their tax matters with you. We want to be able to communicate with you, but we also have to make sure that we're following our own security practices too. When it comes to other party access, that really comes in on GovConnect Iowa. So by having other party access, that means that you are, logging into your account and then accessing your client accounts. Emily, did you have anything else to add to this one?
Nope, it's just new terminology, so I wanted to make sure that everyone understood it.
Definitely understand that.
Jerica, question here too then on those secondary accounts. What is the method for the person that is managing them to either edit them and or delete them, let's say when they're no longer needed?
So I'm going to make an assumption that this would happen at an accounting firm if an employee leaves. Is that correct?
I don't know, but sure.
Okay.
We can work with that example, yes.
Okay, that works. So in that scenario, you would be able to go in and manage their access. So you would need to go in and click change access. We are working on something behind the scenes to make that a little more visible to you and make it easier to navigate. So that's something that will, happen later in the future, I believe. But I would say stay tuned. Right now to do it, it's to change access, but let me see if we can make that more readily apparent to you on that screen.
Absolutely. So there's a couple questions in here about either changing the type of account that you have. Let's say you created a web logon and didn't choose the correct option. What are some of the options that you would have to make sure that you're getting your account into the correct status?
Can you repeat that question for me, Patrick?
Yeah, so the direct question is, what if I already created a web logon and didn't choose the correct option?
So for those, you would need to contact the department. Typically what would happen is say that you create an account and you chose that you were the business owner when technically you were the third-party professional. We do have to update those through the department behind the scenes. So you would have to contact taxpayer services and we could help you with that directly.
Gotcha. Oh.
Another question about secondary access. So someone was set up with secondary access, and when they went in and clicked the link on the email they got, it just took them to the GovConnect Iowa homepage. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Jerica, but I believe that means that link expired. The secondary user will only have a certain amount of time to go in and get set up. And if that link expired, they should probably contact TPS so that we can get them logged into the account. Is that correct?
So correct to an extent. So that is the case that, if that link expires, it will direct them back to that GovConnect Iowa page. However, the other party administrator, remember where I showed you that screenshot where they can resend the email access email, that you can actually click that. You don't have to contact the department, and then that will immediately send it to your employee to someone else. That way they can go in there and click it right away.
Perfect.
That link typically expires in 24 hours, but I will go ahead and get clarification on that.
Gotcha. So we've got just a couple more minutes left for Q&A on access here. So as we're looking through these other questions, I'm seeing quite a few that are specific to your individual situation. So if those are ones that you need additional clarification on, please do reach out to the department, and they're working through those as quickly as they can to make sure that you're getting your answers and your questions. All of this Q&A will be available and can be added to the Q&A that Jerica showed in her presentation. And this whole thing has been recorded, and the slides are available if you need that. So
Patrick, I will say
Yes,
there
ma'am.
is one common question I'm seeing here. The one that I'm reading right now is from Kent Westfall. And it says, what if the administrator is leaving, but everyone else needs to continue active until a new admin person is hired? That is a common question that I think we've gotten, behind the scenes, but also in this webinar. So that's one that I know a lot of you are questioning. Emily and I will work on getting that information out on the website on what your next steps are. So I know that a lot of people have asked that one. Stay tuned. We will add that answer onto our website.
We've also had a couple of questions about signing up with or for a GovConnect Iowa logon with an email address, and maybe it's not the one you wanted to use, or maybe you want to switch it to a different email address. That is possible. After logging into your GovConnect Iowa account, you can go to your profile settings and update your email address there. It'll ask you to verify a couple of steps just to make sure that we've got the right one on file, but you can change that whenever you want to.
And I also see that there is a question out here about the phone number for taxpayer services. I will share my screen here. However, it is 515-281-3114 or 1-800-367-3388. So Patrick, would you mind putting that in the chat as well, the taxpayer services phone number?
Do that, absolutely.
All right. Give you just another moment to jot this down here. All right.
Okay, so we've got only just a couple of minutes left, and we're going to transition into the Department of Inspections and Appeals and their licenses that are available on GovConnect Iowa. We definitely appreciate you being here for the first hour plus, covering the access and the other party access. Each of these presentations will be up and available on Iowa SourceLink, as well as the Q&A and all of these different pieces on the Department of Revenue's website. We're going to, as we make this transition, we're going to be probably cleaning out most of the Q&A, so we've got a clean slate for the Departments of Inspections and Appeals. So we're going to slide a lot of those either into answered, or we're going to just catalog them so we can follow up with them and put them in. For those of you that are just joining, or if you're just joining now, like we'll repost all of the links and things in chat as you come in and out. You do lose that chat, so we'll make sure we get all of those things moved around. So we're Jerica, thank you so much. Emily and Chet and Terry for answering those questions. I'm gonna take if you're watching and waiting for Department of Inspections and Appeals, we're gonna take a 2-minute break while Mark joins and gets set up here to talk about their licenses on GovConnect Iowa. So with that, Mark, I think I've got you in as a panelist. We can go ahead and get your screen shared, and then we will go ahead and launch off in just a couple of minutes. But appreciate you being here with us this morning. Yeah. Well, as we're getting ready to start here again, if you do have outstanding Q&A things on the Department of Revenues on the access to GovConnect Iowa, we appreciate those questions. We're just going to be sliding those out. So when Mark and I are looking at questions on Department of Inspections and Appeals, we're not having to leaf through quite a few, but we do appreciate those questions. And we can definitely make sure that they're included in the Q&A report that will go to our presenters from the Department of Revenue today, and then they'll use those to make sure they get added up to the website and everything else. So Colin, so if you're here with us too, if you just want to go ahead and start moving a lot of those questions into the archive, we'll be able to make sure we've got them. We've got them cataloged. And we appreciate all those questions from this morning. All right, so we've got 11:15. So welcome to those of you that are joining us for this portion of the GovConnect Iowa webinar. Right now, we're going to be moving into the Department of Inspections and Appeals. Thank you to those of us that are still sticking around from this morning. But once again, my name is Patrick Lintzman. I work at the Papa John Entrepreneurial Center at the University of Northern Iowa. Together with the Iowa Economic Development Authority, we manage the Iowa Sourcing Platform, where business begins in Iowa, where we connect Iowa small businesses and service providers to resources around the state to help really with all things business. And that's why we're working through all of the GovConnect Iowa webinars and things like that. You can find a whole list of the links for today up on Iowa Sourcing. We'll post that link in the chat. We're going to have the links to Mark's slides in there as well, so you can grab those and follow along. This whole section will also be recorded, and it's going to be available for you to watch at a later date. If you do have questions around the Department of Inspections and Appeals portion, same as before, please go ahead and enter those into the Q&A box, and Mark and I will do our best to be able to try to answer those. So with that, Mark, thank you for joining us here this morning, and I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to the Iowa businesses today. So today, really want to cover what Department of Inspections and Appeals, what portions of our licenses are available through the GovConnect Iowa portal. The DIA has about 14 different licenses that we issue for food and lodging or something, other things that we issue. So we weren't able to make all of those licenses available on GovConnect Iowa yet, but we continue to work in the next phases of this product to do so. So today, I do want to cover what licenses are eligible to be renewed for food and lodging licenses through GovConnect Iowa. Also, how to use the renewal form that is sent to you in the mail through either DIA or one of our local health agencies. And then also, if you're not familiar, how to create a user account in the DIA licensing and inspection system that we have, and then maybe a brief overview of what renewal looks like on GovConnect Iowa. So we'll kick right off into what licenses are available, and these are for renewal only. At this time, new applications or new licenses are not, that process is not available on GovConnect Iowa. But you can renew your food service and your retail food license on GovConnect Iowa. These are the two largest licenses that we have as far as volume and numbers. Essentially, it's a restaurant license and a grocery store, grocery type license. So the biggest number of businesses in Iowa have these two licenses, and they are available. And you'll see here on the screen, just a screenshot of what that license may look like if it's hanging on your wall. So as far as managing these food licenses and the renewals on GovConnect Iowa, I've pulled a couple of screenshots from the GovConnect Iowa portal to kind of walk you through that. So you'll notice on the screen, you'll see that the Iowa Department of Inspections and Appeals has a link on Manage Other Licenses, which you'll see when you're logged in under your user account. And then once you click that, you'll be able to select Renew Food or Lodging Licenses. So there's really two options on how a business can proceed with a renewal. Many of our businesses have one location or one facility. So they have the ability to log in to GovConnect Iowa and enter their license number as well as a business code from the renewal form that is sent out through DIA or one of our local agencies, and plug that information in and then they can get access to that one location to renew licenses, a license or licenses for that one location. If it is a business that has multiple locations within Iowa, they can also access all of those locations and renew multiple licenses at the same time through GovConnect Iowa. And in that case, they would enter their username for the DIA system and along with a license number. And that would allow them to see all of the license that their user account is associated with and can renew multiple licenses on the same transaction. So we'll dig into those two options here just a little bit. So if we're doing you have one business location, or even if you have multiples and you're really just looking at getting your feet wet with GovConnect Iowa, and you want to try and renew your food license, you have the option to do, again, one business location at a time. And so I've highlighted on this screenshot here, this is an excerpt from the renewal application or renewal form that is sent to you either by DIA or one of our local health agencies that contract with us. And I've highlighted the two sections, the two pieces of information that are from that renewal form that you'll need when you log into GovConnect Iowa. So if you plug in that business code and that license number into GovConnect Iowa, you will then see that business listed in the next screen. And you'll see on that screen that there's a highlighted renew button there and a link. So that's how you would proceed with that single business. And we'll go a little bit more as to what the next screen looks like as we get further on the presentation. But now I'd like to cover what, if you have multiple locations, how you can see all of those on GovConnect Iowa. So some of you may be familiar with this screen here. This is our current online licensing and system that DIA uses. So if you already have an account here, you can certainly log in with your credentials that you have there and see what locations or what licenses or facilities that your user account is associated with. If you don't have an account here, then you can create that account at the screen by selecting add new account. Once you log in or create an account and you're logged in, this is the screen that you will see on what we call the USA Food Safety System, or DIA's licensing system. And I've circled up there in the right-hand corner of the picture there where you would enter that same business code. So once you've created a user account, you may see that this screen is blank and doesn't have any of the blue panels that are placed on here, which is, Mark's Food Processing Plant, Mark's Place, that kind of thing. Those are separate locations that you can add to your business profile, your username here. And you would do so by entering the business code that is on that renewal form for each of those. Once you would enter that business code and select add, you would then see that information about that facility pop up on your screen here. And that way, that if it's listed here under your user account and you log in with those credentials on GovConnect Iowa, you will see the same facilities listed on GovConnect Iowa as here. We've had some questions as to whether this portal right now that DIA is using is going away. And at this point, you will actually be able to use both systems. You can use the portal here to renew or apply for new licenses, and all of our licenses are available on this portal here where you can apply. But also within the GovConnect Iowa portal, where you may be managing multiple different licenses, you'll also have the ability to do that. Again, with the limited food service and retail food licenses that are available now, but as we continue to work on other next phases, we intend to move all of our licenses over there and make them all available on GovConnect Iowa, including new licenses at some point. So once you've gone to this screen here, you recognize that, okay, I have my user account for the DIA system. Now I have these facilities that are associated with it. If you use those login credentials on GovConnect Iowa, you will see those same facilities listed. And on the screen here where it gives you all of those locations, you'll see that there is a note that whether you have something to renew at that particular location or not. So it does help you sort and help you determine which licenses or which facilities have some action that you can go in and take as far as a renewal. So now that we've kind of covered how do you gaining access to one business location to renew licenses, and also access to all of your food and lodging businesses, if you have more than one. Now we'll kind of take a look at what does the renewal process look like in GovConnect Iowa. So once you click on that renew button, licenses that are available at that location will pop up on the screen. So in this case, this location has both a retail food license and a food service license. Both can be renewed on GovConnect Iowa. There are some questions that you'll need to ask. So whether you would like to renew this license at this time, and also whether you wish to report your gross sales, gross food and beverage sales. If you select yes, you will have a field that opens up that asks you to type in that gross sales amount. If you choose not to report gross sales for a particular license, you will get a box that you will need to check that you understand, that really confirms that you understand that by not reporting gross sales, the highest fee will be charged for that license renewal. Once you enter the information on this screen and you proceed, you'll be asked to add your attachments to show your proof of gross sales. If you chose not to enter gross sales and chose that you didn't want to report those, you will not see an attachment for that license to report those sales. But if you do, you will then be given the ability to add your attachment to show your proof of sales. Once you have added those attachments and you proceed, you'll be given kind of a summary of what you're doing with this location. So it shows here on this screen that you have the food service and the retail food license. Both sales are being reported for both, and it gives you the license fee that is applicable for both based on that reported gross sales, and also the grand total of this transaction you see there as well. So once you get to this point, make sure that all the information you have is accurate as you, and then you can choose to proceed also. Once you proceed from that location, you will see essentially your shopping cart. And in this case, you'll see that there is that one food safety license renewal in the shopping cart. But if you have other activities to do here, such as maybe additional food licenses at different locations, but also maybe an alcohol license or a lottery license or additional things that GovConnect Iowa includes, you'll also see those listed here in your shopping cart as well. Once you have checked out, you'll get confirmation back from the system that you have submitted that application. Then what happens is a bit behind the scenes is where GovConnect Iowa communicates with DIA's licensing system, and we will get that information the following day. We will get that information every night. So it could be that if you've immediately submitted a license renewal, and then you call the agency saying, hey, I just wanted to check on my renewal to make sure you have it, we wouldn't necessarily be able to see that on our side until the next morning. So that's just one thing that folks would need to keep in mind. So once you've checked out, really that's the process. So, we want to encourage folks to take a look at GovConnect Iowa to renew their food licenses. Again, we'll be adding additional licenses and additional phases of the project here in GovConnect Iowa, and we feel the process is pretty seamless and really creates a good user experience. So again, we want to encourage folks to use it. So I appreciate that. I think my time is just about up, so we may have a little bit of time here for questions, and I'll kick it over to you, Patrick, to see if there's some questions we can
answer. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. So one question from Kelly, and maybe this is not something you know quite yet, but is there a time frame on when some of the mobile food, hemp, farmers market licenses are going to be accessed on GovConnect Iowa?
Well, I have a bit of a time frame. So we're bringing on most of our renewals of the rest of our licenses with an exception or a couple of exceptions in the next phase, which is set to be delivered, I believe, next November. So we're already working on adding the mobile license, the farmers market license, the annual temporary. We're looking at adding those within the next year. And then the following year, we would need to identify, which the remainder of the licenses to move over, and when are we potentially going to allow for new applications to be submitted through GovConnect Iowa. So hopefully that helps.
Awesome. Then a question here from Margaret. Any change to how annual gambling report is reported?
No, so that's a really good question. You know, another part of the Food and Consumer Safety Bureau is also our social and charitable gambling side. At this point, we don't have a plan to move those the annual report submission over to GovConnect Iowa at this time. So you continue to report those through the same system that you have been using for the last couple of years.
Gotcha. So then Sandra asks, since the old way to renew licenses is not going away, we don't have to change, at least not yet. Is that correct?
Sure, I think that's fair. I mean, if you have your system in place, and don't want to change, I certainly can appreciate that. But it does provide you another option. And as we continue to bring on additional licenses, at some point, once everything is moved over to GovConnect Iowa, we will likely sunset the current system. So at least that's the long-term plan. And it may take us, 3 years, 4 years to kind of move everything over there. But we expect that we will sunset that program at some point.
Gotcha. So if you're willing to adopt the change, maybe start now, and you can be in there when the rest of those changes come and that old system is eventually sunset. So, but no, good question. Now I'm making sure. Do you see Bruce's question here in the Q&A, Mark? As you pull that up.
Yeah. So I guess we can. I don't know if we can really answer that. I think it's related to.
That's what I'm making sure that
bank account information, right?
Okay. All
yeah.
Right.
So I think really those questions might maybe be better answered by IDR on the payment side, since we're really kind of on the back end.
Absolutely. And later today, there's a bit of a section that is on payment and payment options. So hopefully that can be covered during that portion of it as well.
I wanted to make sure that I was right before speaking here, but any payments made through GovConnect Iowa will all have that same bank filter number, whether it's for a permit or like a DIA permit or like your HHM permit. It will all come with the same bank filter ID as long as it's through GovConnect Iowa.
Okay, no, that sounds good. So Bruce, hopefully that answers your question, that things that are being paid and processed through GovConnect Iowa will have that same bank filter. So hopefully that fits. And Patty, I think that some of those questions are probably directed more towards the Department of Revenue portion of the program, but correct me if I'm wrong. Patty's asking questions in the chat. Same for Philip. Yeah, those are probably questions that if Emily or Chet or Jerica is still here, can maybe answer in the background if needed, or we can move them out or catch them later in the session. So if you do have other questions for Mark, please do go ahead and enter those in on the Department of Inspections and Appeals portion. We want to make sure that we're covering the whole gambit of GovConnect Iowa today, which is quite the system between 4 different state agencies. So we'll give it just a couple of minutes, but Mark, they might let you off the hook easy today. I won't for wearing an Iowa State shirt, but it's okay. We'll let that slide. I know you're a little closer to Central Iowa than me, but my alma mater isn't happy about it. Yeah, so Philip, we see if we weren't able to get to it, that we will hopefully be able to answer that later, or they can answer it through text behind. So Donna asks, are we changing the renewal form to reflect the new website?
So on the renewal form right now, we do have a renew online link that you can then go to our USA Food Safety System to do that online. What we're looking at doing is putting something on our DIA website that can let people know that they can also go to GovConnect Iowa. So the form itself will likely stay the same. Okay. But when people go to the link, they would hopefully see the option for that they may choose to go to GovConnect Iowa as well. With only bringing on a couple of our licenses at this point, we're hopeful that we'll get folks that will be able to watch these webinars and get that kind of information where they can access and go that route as well. But we are looking at putting some language on our website to let people know that there's an option in GovConnect Iowa, but we also want to be careful not to confuse people where they may go there and their license isn't eligible, which certainly can be frustrating. So,
absolutely, no, I think that makes good sense. So, in terms of as you're moving those other licenses, and maybe someone new that is looking at doing some of those licenses, where else would you want them to go and look for DIA to investigate those licenses and make sure that they're being able to do the renewals and everything in that right spot?
So the DIA's homepage, dia.iowa.gov, there's a link there to the Food and Consumer Safety Bureau. And there's a page there that really talks about our licensing and has the button where you can go and apply for a new license online as well. And that will link you to that USA Food Safety System. Just know if you do create that login, you can and you apply for your license and you eventually get your license through the department, that then it would be eligible to be renewed on GovConnect Iowa next time around. So really it's just providing the individual businesses with more options, especially if they have other licenses where it might be easier for them to manage from one logon instead of 4 different systems. So even though we're slowly moving our licensing over to GovConnect Iowa, that we're still creating additional options for folks as and different businesses might have different reasons why they want to use GovConnect Iowa.
Right. And speaking of all those different options, Christina asks, can these food licenses still be renewed by mail?
Yes. We still accept paper forms for sure. That is something that I think, ongoing we'll probably have to continue to do even long term. I mean, we certainly, there are lots of efficiencies that are gained by electronic submissions, but at some point we would really like to transition to where almost everything that we're doing is online. But we know that there's going to be exceptions in some cases as well for different folks to use a paper form. So I think long term we'll always accept a paper form, but we also want to strongly encourage folks to use the online systems because there's so much efficiency that's gained there on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe easier to keep track of, and we're not losing things in the mail, and that's keeping efficiency. But yeah, to that point, yeah, as Mark said, yes, you can still renew those by mail. So we've got just like a couple more minutes. If you do have questions for Mark, please do enter those in there. Mark, appreciate you joining in for our GovConnect Iowa extravaganza webinar today, looking at all the different state agencies and systems that are a part of the new system that is still in its infancy, but we appreciate you coming out and spending time with us. For those of you that were looking at it, Kyle did post that link that Mark mentioned to the forms for the DIA website there in the chat. So please go out if you need that and keep track of it there. With that, Mark, any final thoughts? Anything else to say for this GovConnect Iowa portion?
No, I don't think so. I just want to, thank you again, Patrick, for inviting me to talk to some business owners and business end users. And I see there's still quite a few people on, so I don't know how many of those folks are work with food businesses or own a food business, but hopefully we reached a few folks and today and let them know that there are additional options out there for renewing their licenses online. And as always, you can visit our website at dia.iowa.gov and contact us. There's ways to ask questions. There's we have dedicated staff that answer licensing questions that people have, and we try and put information out on our website for people to self-help. So you know, feel free to reach out to us at any time if you have questions. And you know, good luck in using GovConnect Iowa.
Awesome, Mark. Thanks again for joining us. This portion of it has been recorded, and then the slides are also available on iasourcelink.com, as will the full rundown of all of the presentations from today that'll be recorded and posted. So we're going to take like a quick 5-minute break, and we'll be back. It's going to be very fast. We'll be back at 11:45. We're going to start with Lisa, who just joined us. So Lisa, welcome to today's webinar. We'll get started with the Iowa Alcoholic Beverages Division in just about 5 minutes. So we appreciate everybody being here, but we're going to take like a quick break while we go ahead and get everything set up for the next portion of the webinar. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Sure, appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and do pull up your slides, get your screen share going. Everyone else is out on break. They're not listening to us. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But go ahead and pull that up, and then we'll be able to launch right in just a couple of minutes.
Okay, perfect. There.
So those of you that are joining us for the Alcoholic Beverages Division portion, we'll be starting that right at 11:45. So Lisa is just getting her slides set up, and then just a couple of minutes, we'll be getting started. If you weren't here for the first half, I suppose, of the webinar today, it has been recorded. It will be available for you to watch at a later date. And each of the presentations for those sections are available on iasourcelink.com and our team council. If you'll continue to post those links into the chat for you to be able to follow along with and watch as we go. Lisa, do you have slides that you're planning to share for your portion today? Or are you going to do a live walkthrough, or what are you thinking? You're still muted, so I think I saw you say you don't have any slides.
Correct, thank you. I don't have any slides, but I'm just going to speak briefly about the available license types and then the resources available on our website, and then I'll be able to give you a demonstration on how to complete a new application.
Awesome. Well, that sounds exciting. We'll be kicking off with Lisa with the Alcoholic and Beverages Divisions in just about a minute. So hopefully everyone's returning from their break. And we'll be able to keep going through as we're looking at all the different options that GovConnect Iowa has. And hopefully everyone that's joining from Iowa today has tied down the old deck chairs, as I think it might get a little windy out there later this afternoon. So hopefully everyone stays safe across the state today, and that hope for it to not be as bad as maybe people are thinking. So with that, Lisa, we'll go ahead and get started. So the quick rundown, for those of you who've been here the whole time, you're going to hear me say all this again, but that's okay. If you've got questions, please go ahead and answer them into the Q&A box, and Lisa and I will try to address those as best we can today. This whole thing is recorded and will be available to watch after the fact. So you can follow the full schedule on iasourcing.com. And we really appreciate you being here as we talk through all the different facets of GovConnect Iowa. So with that, Lisa, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and you can take it away.
Thank you very much. Yep. So my name is Lisa Gibson. I'm the licensing lead for Iowa Alcoholic Beverages, and I'm happy to be here today and be a part of this. So we have actually started out with two of our most popular license types that you are now able to submit applications for in the GovConnect system. The first one is going to be our Class C liquor license. This is going to be your on-premise license, for example, your tavern, bars, and restaurants. This license type allows for the commercial establishments to sell liquor, wine, or beer for on-premise consumption. And it also allows carry-out sales for liquor, wine, and beer, and mixed cocktails and drinks to go. The second license type that we are offering right now is our Class E liquor license. So this is for off-premise consumption, and this is more for your grocery, liquor, and convenience stores. Both of these license types are available to submit applications for, whether it's a new application, just starting this license, or if it's going to be on a renewal application. With that being said, what happens after the application is submitted via GovConnect? The standard processing time is still the same. ABD does recommend about 45 days from start to finish on new applications. Renewals don't take quite as long, but it still needs to go through the process of the DRAM insurance carrier. Then it goes through the local authority approval, then finally to ABD for final review. Same for off-premise, only it doesn't need to go through the DRAM insurance for those license types. If you need to make any changes or modify the application once it has been submitted, we do have to have you go into our ELAP system to make changes, which you can access that through our website as well. Or if you do have questions or concerns, you can also start with just sending us an email in our licensing inbox at licensing@iowaabd.com, or simply just by calling us at 515-281-7400. Again, all this information is available through our website at abd.iowa.gov. Our website does offer a lot of other resources and tools that are available to the public for your information. And we also have a lot of demonstration videos and tips and tricks available for you as well. Alrighty, so now I'm going to actually go into the demonstration of how to complete a new application. So give me just one moment here and I'll get my screen shared so that you can see it. Okay, are you able to see my screen, Patrick?
Yep, we've got it.
Okay, perfect. So once you have logged into the system and you have registered your business, what you will do is locate, so this is the business I've already pre-registered, but what you can do is go down to more, and with all the options here, go to manage other licenses. And the link you're going to want to click on here is the Iowa Alcoholic Beverages Division. From there, it takes you to the next screen, and this is where you can apply for a new license, or the option to renew an alcoholic beverage license is on there as well. So I'm going to go ahead for this new one, apply for an alcoholic beverage license. As you see here, my business already pre-populates, so I'm going to go down to under the alcohol license column and add an alcohol license. First welcome box explains what you'll need to complete this application. So you can go ahead and click next. Again, it's going to pre-populate my business information that I've already registered. Okay, so first page of the license application, we'll just go through step by step here. The license type we're going to select from the two options that are currently available. We'll go ahead and select our Class C liquor license. And the length of the license, all the options that are available for which business type and length that you're trying to do. So I'll go ahead and pick our 12-month. And a tentative effective date, I will just go ahead and pick a date here in the future. Privileges that can be added to the license are here. So if you would like to add any privileges, you would just simply select which box you're adding for. Same with any sub-permits that are available to this license type as well. The boxes will be displayed for you to select. So again, we'll go ahead and answer the question if we are registered with the Secretary of State. And then it does require us to enter our business number that we are registered with. Next page is ownership information. So we'll click on the Add Owner box. Now, if this was a renewal application and you need to make changes to the ownership information, you will not be able to do so from here. This would be an example of where you would need to access that information through our ELAP system. And then on there, we have amendment applications to make ownership or changes to the licenses for that. So first name here, I will go ahead and type in owner's information. And then home address of the owner is the information I'm entering there. You can also, once you start typing this in, click verify address button here, which will bring it up and you can select it from there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add that here. If you have any additional owners or ownership information you'd like to add, you would just click the add owner button again. But if you're finished, you'll proceed and click next. From here, you'll answer the 2 criminal history questions that pertain to each owner that you previously listed on the previous page. So once you've selected both of those, you can click next. From here, we're going to add a person of contact. So it can be the same person as the ownership page, or it can be a different person. So now that I have the contact person's information there, I can click next. This will also be, keep in mind, the person that ABD would reach out to should they have any outstanding requirements or need any additional information for. All right, next page is our premise information. So this pertains to the location of where the license is going to be held. So what pre-populates here for us is the legal entity name. And then it does ask this question. So we would just select which one pertains to your business model and the premise type. The city and county are pre-populated. And then if you were in an unincorporated town, you can check this box. This is for our local authority information, so it should populate in here. And then you would just answer this question below as to which local authority your application needs to be reviewed by. So in this case, we are the city of Ankeny. State of Iowa here is if there is no local authority and the application, ABD is the local authority. So you would select that in those cases. Next, we're going to go ahead and answer the questions that pertain to the premise. And then once you've finished answering those, you'll go ahead and click next again. And then just some additional premise questions that are required for these types of applications. All right, since I selected the Class C liquor license, on-premise license types do require you to have a dram carrier and hold dram insurance. So in this area is where I would go ahead and enter my dram insurance company. If you were to have select the Class E liquor license, this page would not be, should not be displayed, so you wouldn't have to answer to this one. I'm gonna go ahead and enter in one here, and you can see once you start typing, all of our dram insurance carriers have been entered in here, so you can just select from the drop down box here. All right, so uploading documents at this time is an optional feature. The documents are still required per the license or permit type that you are applying for. However, they are optional at this time to be uploaded with your application. If you choose not to upload them, the documents will need to be provided to your local authority or to the division. So we can not choose to upload these at this time and click next. And then final page is just review of the application, making sure everything you entered is correct. If you see that maybe you miskeyed something or want to go back and change it, you can just click on the check mark of the area you'd like to go back and make any changes or edits on that page. So after I've reviewed, it'll go ahead and take you to the next page. You'll go ahead and attest to this by checking the box here. And then on this one, we will go ahead and put in the owner's name. The owner's name does have to be typed exactly how it is entered on the ownership page in order to proceed. And then it does take you to the payment page. So this is a breakdown of the licensing fees pertaining to what was selected on the application. So from here, you would go ahead and click submit and put in your payment information. If you have any other things on the website that you would like to go back to as well, you can do that, or you can check out from here. So if you had, again, more to do, you could check out or click this button, excuse me, or check out from here. and then it would submit your application. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and stop at the payment page, and then it would take you back to this area. So if I had additional license I wanted to apply for, or I had another application that I would like to renew, I could go back here and do that as well. Alrighty, so that concludes my demonstration for the Iowa alcoholic beverages new applications. At this time, I was going to see if anybody had any questions.
Yeah, so we've got a couple in here that we'll try to address quick. So does this mean that GovConnect Iowa will replace the new ELAPS system?
It does not. We will still have the ELAPS system available for users as well.
Awesome. And so then another question is, are there currently any advantages or efficiencies to using GovConnect Iowa versus the ELAPS for renewals or anything like that?
I'm sorry, part of that cut out at the beginning. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, so are there any advantages or efficiencies to using the GovConnect portal versus the ELAPS system for renewals?
Yeah, as I've come to find out, advantages, if you have other things that you need to do on GovConnect or, multiple renewals, you can do that as well. And then, like I said, do your checkout all together and, pay for it all together. It's kind of your one-stop shop for that. And let me see here. It does work very much similar to the ELAPS system. So if you have not, been into our ELAPS system or registered, but you have already here this, it doesn't replace that, but it just keeps you from having to go register in both systems if this is where you can do all your business from.
Awesome. Then the last question. So does this also apply to special Class C liquor licenses for events? Do they have to be applied for through GovConnect Iowa, or can these still be applied for as in the past?
The special Class C would have to go through our ELAPS system.
There you go. Special Class C. Yep. No, go ahead.
Yep. For special events, if you are getting the Class C liquor license, we did have that 5-day and 14-day available. So that is a great feature to be able to use this system for as well.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps up all the questions that we had for the Alcoholic Beverages Division. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us and walking us through that demo. And we can, if there are other questions, there's one that just came in. So I see this is more for the applicants and not the local authorities. So we, the local authority, would continue to use the ELAP system. Does that question make sense to you, Lisa?
Yes, it does. And the answer to that is yes, you would continue to review and approve the application via the ELAP system.
Awesome. Well, that'll be the end of those questions. Lisa, thank you for jumping in to share that with us. We definitely appreciate you joining to share your portion of GovConnect Iowa with us.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. So if you just joined us for the Iowa Lottery Authority, that's where we're going next. If you missed the Alcoholic Beverages Division, that was recorded, and we'll have all that available afterwards. So quickly moving into our next section of GovConnect Iowa, we've got Mary Neubauer here with the Iowa Lottery Authority. As with all of these, if you've got questions, please put them in the Q&A box. We will post in the chat the link to the slides, and it'll be recorded and available for you to watch after the session today. Mary, welcome, and thank you for being here with us.
Hi, Patrick. Thank you so much for hosting this today. I have learned a lot just by being here today, and I hope that everybody in the audience has as well. As Patrick said, yes, if you have questions as we're going along, please put them in the Q&A. I don't know if I'm going to have time to get to all the Q&A today, but we can always answer it after the conclusion of the presentation. Just for everybody to know, I'm joining you from Lottery headquarters today in the room that's our celebration zone, where where winners usually come and pose with their big oversized checks. So maybe that can help us all be in a positive frame of mind as we're getting into all of these details here today. So as you've heard, retailer licensing for the Iowa Lottery is included in the GovConnect Iowa portal. So I'm going to give you just an overview of the lottery process and some helpful tips for completing it. For time purposes, I can't touch on every step involved, but these highlights will give you a flavor for the experience itself. Keep in mind that there's just one main license that businesses receive from the Iowa Lottery, and it's for the sale of all lottery products in Iowa. So lotto games, instant scratch games, Instaplay games, and pull-tab games all are sold under our retailer license. We don't have separate licenses or individual permits for our different products. You know, and from an internal perspective at the Iowa Lottery, this licensing process has really updated the interactions that we have with businesses seeking a lottery license. In the past, applicants got a paper packet of forms from the lottery and then might interact with several different lottery staffers in different lottery offices as they track down the required details and ask questions about the process. But that hard copy process also often involved delays. There was always the challenge of trying to accurately decipher handwritten documents, not to mention the duplication of lottery staff entering information that a business already had written out on paper. So the GovConnect Iowa process is designed to provide a linear path that ensures a business has completed one necessary step, like providing tax information, before it can go on to the next one. Today, there is no paper licensing for the Iowa Lottery. The entire process is completed online and begins at GovConnect Iowa. But keep in mind that this electronic process for the lottery involves the same information that a business previously provided to us in hard copy. We're not requiring anything additional through GovConnect Iowa. It's just that the application process is now electronic. And I will go on to the next page. Hide my screen here. There we go. On our website, this is the main licensing page under the For Retailers section there. We now have just a few basic tips there about the lottery's electronic licensing, and then we direct visitors to GovConnect Iowa. We do provide links on our website that anyone can use to contact us with questions about lottery licensing, and I'll circle back to that contact information at the end of my presentation today so you can grab a screenshot. So let's go back again, and if you've been on this presentation the whole time, you've seen this before, but if you're just logging into this section, this is the homepage for GovConnect Iowa. And I'm returning here now because this is where the application process starts for an Iowa lottery license. Multiple Iowa businesses have already completed a lottery license application since this portal went live on November 15th. Some of them have easily made it through the process with little or no assistance, but others have had snags along the way. And you know, I think there will always be differing levels of comfort no matter what the technology is that's involved. But I hope that by giving some tips here today and continuing to work with you on process improvement, we can help with that. So you'll get started by following the prompts highlighted here to log in if you have an existing GovConnect Iowa account, or create a logon to create a new account. There are two spots where you can log in by using the registration tile or the login box that's on the screen in the upper right. So once you've done that, at this point, your business will have a GovConnect Iowa profile, but it won't yet be linked to any additional details. That will be the case for a brand new business that's just getting started or a long-term existing business. In either instance, you'll need to link the business profile to its sales tax permit with the Iowa Department of Revenue. Remember this tip: a business that hasn't yet completed that link by accessing its tax information will see a screen like this at GovConnect Iowa with only 3 tiles displayed. Some businesses have tried to apply for a lottery license directly from this screen before they linked up to their tax information. If you do that, you'll get a no rows error message and you won't be able to proceed. My second tip today is for the process of accessing your business's tax information. You'll use the access tile highlighted in red on the screen to do that. And for data security protection, this step can take some time to complete. That's because the Iowa Department of Revenue will need to mail a security code to you in hard copy. You'll have to wait to receive that letter before you can enter the code using the Enter Access Code link that's shown here. It's my understanding that you can use the link shown on the screen at any time to request access to an account and ask for the security code for your business. So maybe plan ahead by doing that early on. That way you won't be held up at the time that you really need it. After your business has linked its GovConnect Iowa profile to its sales tax information, it will see a summary page like this on the portal. To proceed to the spot where you'll apply for a lottery license, click the More button that's circled at the top of the page. That then takes you to the screen that provides the various options within GovConnect Iowa. You'll select the link for Iowa Lottery Authority licenses in the tile called Manage Other Licenses, and I highlighted it there just so you can easily see it. That link will take you to this main page for lottery applications. As you can see, there are two options listed: apply for a lottery license to begin a new application, or continue lottery license application to return to one that's already underway. And you'll choose the option that applies in your situation. You'll then advance to this page, which will be pre-populated with information linked to your business's GovConnect Iowa profile. In the example shown here, you can see that the business involved only has one location. Corporate retailers with multiple business locations will have a screen showing all of them. To apply for a lottery license for a particular business location, you'll click the Add Lottery License link in that row. And I circled the one here in red just so you can easily see it. This is another important page in the lottery licensing process. Here you can see a concise list of the documents that a business will need to provide on GovConnect Iowa as it applies to become a lottery retailer. A couple other details. You'll pay the fee for a lottery license application electronically through GovConnect Iowa. Your business has the option of paying just that $25 fee alone, or if you're applying for multiple business permits and licenses, you can make one total payment and the individual fees involved will be dispersed out to the different state entities receiving them, including the lottery in our case. Payments can be made from a bank account or with a credit card. And let me touch on that for a second. I want to note that it is legal for the $25 lottery license application fee to be paid with a credit card. It's illegal in Iowa for lottery products to be purchased with credit, but the payment for this fee is not a transaction that involves the purchase of lottery tickets, so it's okay. And I think that's an important distinction for everybody to remember. Here's a quick tip for the owner's information page where you will list all of the owners of 10% or more for the business involved. The percentages listed for the owners on the page have to add up to a total of 100%. Any amount other than that in the ownership percentage field will cause it to error out. Another benefit of the GovConnect Iowa portal is automation to securely deliver information to the business involved. This screen shows the text of an automated email that is sent to the business that submits an application for a lottery license and pays the $25 application fee. I've highlighted the click here link in the email because it will securely take you from the GovConnect Iowa portal to the Iowa Lottery's retail platform to complete the lottery license application. It's a pretty seamless handoff, and it shows how technology like this can be really helpful. If a business has submitted a license application through GovConnect Iowa but hasn't yet completed the additional steps on the lottery's retail platform, the lottery system will send out weekly reminder emails for them to complete their process. And a business has a total of 60 days to complete its application to the lottery for a retailer license. If it doesn't complete the process within that time frame, it will have to start over with a new application. You'll now be on the lottery's retail platform, and the homepage for it is shown here with some overlays to illustrate the process. Think of the lottery side as building out the basics from GovConnect Iowa to add in specific details to a lottery application. You'll sign in here to continue with your lottery application, And the email field that's shown here on the lottery platform is highlighted in yellow because it will be pre-populated with your business address from GovConnect Iowa. You'll need to use the forgot your password link that's circled in red to set up a password on the lottery platform. You can choose your same password from GovConnect Iowa, or you can use a different password. It's up to you. Please note that you won't use the create an account option on this page. It's included just as a placeholder in case that's ever needed in the future. And the field stating I am interested in becoming a lottery retailer also is just a placeholder here. There are, of course, more steps to gather information on the lottery retail platform, but in the interest of time here today, I'll fast forward to show you the successful end screen of an application for a lottery license. When you've successfully completed the process, all the requested forms will be marked with green check marks, as you can see there on the screen. The green ribbon at the top of the page verifies a successful submission, and the application status is marked in green as in approval process. That's my hint that you want to see lots of green on this final page of the lottery application because it demonstrates that you've been successful. So again, thank you for letting me share these highlights here today to help you complete the Iowa Lottery's electronic license application. Here's the slide I promised where you can grab a screenshot of lottery contact information. You can reach out to our licensing specialist at licensing@ialottery.com by email. The telephone numbers for our office locations around the state are all listed here. And don't forget the help section for the GovConnect Iowa portal itself. I also will just verbally give you the Iowa Lottery's website address. That's www.ialottery.com. We'll continue to gather feedback from the businesses going through our electronic licensing process and utilize their perspective and suggestions to make improvements in this process as we move ahead. But at the Iowa Lottery, we're gratified to have worked with the other state partners on this GovConnect Iowa process, and we believe it will ultimately be for the benefit of the citizens of Iowa. So Patrick, that's the information that I had to share here today. I would be glad to answer questions if any have come in, or if folks have questions later, they can always certainly type in a question and you guys can get it to me after this presentation here today.
Absolutely, Mary. Great job, and thank you so much for being here. Right now, we don't have any outstanding questions for the Iowa Lottery licenses, but if you do, please go ahead and enter them in the Q&A box, and we'll make sure that Mary gets those, and we'll get all those questions taken care of. And we're pretty much right at time. You nailed it. It was perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for being here. Again, thanks, Mary, to you and the Iowa Lottery Authority for joining us for this GovConnect Iowa portion. It's recorded, and the slides are available. If you do have those questions, please enter them, and we'll make sure they get to the right place. But Mary, thank you again for being here with us. All right. We're now going to move on to our section that is starting at 12:15. So we're going to welcome back Chet here to be with us. So we're going to bring back most of the our Department of Revenue team. Let me grab this one. I do that. Okay. Chet, do we got you?
Yep. Can you see my screen up here?
Yep, we got your screen. All right. So for the next hour, we got 1 hour left in the session today. This next, I think we've got what, half an hour, we're going to be looking at filing returns. Okay, so the first portion of it, we really tried to cover the access. So we're not going to be addressing access questions during this portion of the presentation. It's going to be really focused on filing the returns for sales, use, withholding, fuel, account tools, and things like that in GovConnect Iowa. So we're going to try and keep questions focused there. As always, I think this one's going to be mostly live demo. Is that correct, Chet?
Yep, live demo. Yep.
So we don't really have any slides to share, but this is being recorded. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box. And then we'll make sure as links or things are being shared that we put them in that chat box for you to follow along with. So with that, Chet, go ahead, take it away.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Chet Ignor, the program manager for the taxpayer service team here at the department. So today we'll be walking through how to file a return, sales tax return in particular for sales on GovConnect Iowa, and then also be going over some available tools on the GovConnect Iowa website. Before we get started, just want to note that this presentation is for general educational purposes only. Anything you see today is fictional data on a fictional account. Now, a quick overview. Again, we're going to walk through how to file a sales tax return. This will include filing a quarterly return, as well as submitting like a semi-monthly or monthly deposit. And then we'll go through some available tools such as viewing submissions and managing those returns and payments that you may have previously submitted on your account. Now, to get started here, we're going to go ahead and jump into GovConnect Iowa. And we're going to start by logging into, there we go, logging into a web account. Now, once you get logged in, you're going to be directed to the summary tab. The summary tab is going to list all your accounts that you have access to for the business. From here, you're going to look for the permit that you need to file a return for. In this example, we're going to walk through filing a sales tax return. So as you can see here, we've located our sales tax return or sales tax permit. And from here, we're presented 3 options. Now, again, your options are going to be contingent upon your access or authorizations for your logon. But to file a return, we're just going to click the File, Amend, or View Returns hyperlink on the right here. Now, the first screen you're going to encounter is the, now this screen, I should note, will only be viewed by semi-monthly and monthly deposit filers. Those semi-monthly and monthly filers will be prompted with the option to make a deposit payment or to file a quarterly return. Now, if you're a quarterly filer, and you don't have to submit monthly or semi-monthly deposits, then you will actually bypass this screen. You won't see this. For this demo, we're going to go ahead and walk through filing a quarterly return first. So I'm going to click the File, Amend, or View Quarterly Returns hyperlink here on the left. Now, again, if you are a quarterly filer only, you will be directed right to this screen after clicking that File for Client link from the Summary tab. Here, it's going to take us to a list of all the returns that are and all the available tax periods that we can file a return for. It's going to list the period and the tax period, can confirm the return type, and then it's also going to give us the status of that return, whether it's been filed, maybe it's overdue because you haven't filed, or just if it's available to be filed. In this example, we're going to go ahead and file a return for the third quarter, which is the September 30th, 2021. We'll just simply click on the File Now hyperlink here on the right-hand side. Now, the first screen you're going to see when you're filing a return is the activity screen. It's going to ask you, do you have any tax to report this period? Now, you're going to be prompted with 2 options. I have tax to report, or I do not have tax to report. I want to file a 0 return. Now, for those of you that don't have any sales to report for that quarter, you can simply click this I do not have a tax to report option and click next. And it's basically going to take you to the submission page where it's going to automatically zero out the return for you, and you can submit that 0 return. It really streamlines and speeds up that process for filing a return, so you don't have to go through and enter zeros through all the different return screens. So if you, again, this is a quick filing option. If you don't have any tax to report, you can click that option. But for today's demo, we're going to go ahead and walk through filing a return that has tax to report. So I'll make my selection, and then we will click the next button down here in the right-hand corner to proceed. Now, you will be prompted to answer 4 questions regarding additional schedules. Very similar to the e-file and pay system, if any of you have used that before, where it's going to ask you about prepaid wireless telecommunication services, hotel, motel, and automobile rental tax, and construction equipment. The first time you go to file a return on GovConnect Iowa, it will prompt you to answer these questions. Once you make a selection and file a return, your answers will be saved. You can go back and change those the next time you file a return, or if you amend a return. But again, you do need to make a selection, yes or no. And then if you do answer yes to any of these questions, it's going to add on additional schedules for you to complete during your return process. So for time purposes, we're going to go ahead and click no for all these, and then we'll click next to continue. Now, the next screen we come across is the sales information, where the user is going to enter their gross sales and goods consumed. So again, it's going to pre-populate to 0. So you will need to enter some information in there. I'll just go ahead and type in $9,000 in sales and leave goods consumed at 0. Now, this is a good point to show that, or a good stopping point to say that you can save your return draft at any point in time and come back later to finish that up. Drafts are saved for 30 days. So you do have 30 days to come back and complete that return. However, if you don't, it will eventually be deleted off that system after 30 days. We'll go ahead and click next to continue. Now, the next screen is the exemptions. Now, you will be prompted to enter any exemptions for the entire quarter. If this doesn't apply to you, you can simply click the next button because all the fields are zeroed out. However, if they do, you'll want to just simply go ahead and enter in the dollar amount for those exemptions that apply. And you'll notice down here at the bottom, it does automatically total your exemptions for you. So it's easily calculated, one less thing you have to worry about. Now, one of the cool features about GovConnect Iowa does have some help features and links on this throughout the system. You'll see these little help icons or help hyperlinks in the top right-hand corner. You can click on that, and whatever screen you're on, it will provide additional help information. It might be just a description of some of the fields, provide some helpful information about how to complete that, that section of whatever the transaction you're trying to complete. But do be aware that those are available here in the top right-hand corner of every transaction or anything you do in the system here. So after entering your exemptions, we're going to go ahead and click the next button to proceed. Next, we're presented with the sales subject to local option sales tax. Now, you will have to answer the question yes or no. It is a requirement. If you answer no, you can simply click next and proceed, because if you didn't have any sales in a local option jurisdiction, then this wouldn't apply to you. If you're unsure if this applies to you, you can click on this local option sales tax information hyperlink. That will take you to the department's website for the sales tax webpage, where you can look up more information about that. On our department homepage, we do also have a sales mapper tool that you can enter in addresses to determine if your business is in a local option sales tax jurisdiction, or if you're at a convention and you're not sure if the area you're making sales in is subject to local option sales tax. You can type in the address of that marketplace that you may be doing business at to find that information out as well. We're going to go ahead and click yes to this question to walk through how you can add local option sales tax to your return. From here at the top, it will tell you the amount of gross sales or sales that are taxable that you could potentially be subject for local option sales tax for. So by clicking yes, you'll notice it provides a new panel down below. To add a county, you're simply going to click the add a county hyperlink. Now, one thing to note is that local option sales tax are reported by county only in GovConnect Iowa. However, not all cities are subject to local option sales tax. So for instance, Polk County is one. The city of Des Moines has a 1% local option sales tax, whereas the city of Ankeny does not. So you will need to be aware of where your sales are taking place and report the local option sales tax according to where your business location or where you conducted the sale at. So based on the county you select, it's going to auto-populate that jurisdiction's local option rate. From there, you just need to simply enter in the amount of sales that are subject to that local option sales tax and key that in. We're just going to go ahead and enter in 8,000. After you enter that sales tax amount, it will pre-populate your local option tax due, and it will also add that down at the bottom of the screen for your viewing. Now, if you need to add additional counties, you can simply click the add a county hyperlink. If you accidentally added one in error, you can see there's a blue X here in the top right-hand corner that you can just simply click to remove that county from your loss schedule. After entering your information, we'll simply click next to proceed. The next screen is going to be the monthly tax due. Now, quarterly filers, you will not see this screen. This screen will only populate for those sales accounts that have monthly and semi-monthly, that they're monthly and semi-monthly filers. As you can see here, it does tell us your filing frequency requires tax to be paid on a monthly basis. It's going to tell us the total amount of tax that should have been reported for this quarter. Then from there, we actually need to go down and enter in the tax collected for each month. So this is a monthly filer, so we'd have to break it down by month. As we key in our tax collected by month, you'll notice up here in the amount remaining to be allocated, it will adjust the balance that needs to be added in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep keying them in. It will give you an error message if you type more than what should have been paid. You notice we have an error message up here. So you will want to go back and make that correction. Otherwise, it will not allow you to submit this return. After you've entered in your sales tax collected by month, we'll go ahead and click next. Semi-monthly filers will have additional fields. It'll be broken down by semi-month for you guys as well. So that depending on your filing frequency, you may or may not see this screen and you may have more fields to complete. Now, if you quarterly filers, you will actually bypass that screen and you'll be directed straight to the to the prior payments screen here. So this screen should tell you if we have any payments on record for you for this tax period. Now, please note that if the amounts presented here does not match your records, but you have documentation showing that the payment did go through or that your check was cashed, however you made the payment, please go ahead and enter in the amount that you did pay. They might have been misapplied or maybe just hasn't been processed yet. It's tough to say, but you'll want to enter in the amounts that you have record of making payments to for this account, for your account. So we're going to go ahead and just enter in $395 because that should have been paid based off the first and second months of this quarter. Otherwise, if you don't have any, you just simply leave it at 0 and we'll click next to proceed. Next is the penalty and interest screen. So this is new for and a little bit different than GovConnect Iowa. It's going to prompt you to answer if you paid all the tax due on time. Now this screen is optional to complete. You do have to answer this question regardless to proceed. So if we click yes, we can go ahead and just click next. The screen remains the same. And it tells us, it gives us information about the total tax due and what should have been paid. If we answer no, it will open up a new panel at the very bottom for calculating penalty and interest. At this time, GovConnect Iowa does not auto-calculate the penalty and interest like our prior system did. That is in the works in the future. So for right now, your filers are given the option to self-assess their penalty and interest. So again, you do not have to enter this information. There is a box check that you can check, say I would like IDR to assess my penalty and interest. Even if you do enter in a self-assessment penalty and interest, the department will still review your return for accuracy. And maybe you accidentally assessed your self-penalty and you actually didn't qualify for it. We would remove that penalty off your return. So we will be checking that information even if you enter it in. But what this is for is more of a self-help tool in case you are late on filing or making payments, that you can try to get as much paid up and avoid additional interest accrual as you wait for your billing notice. So we'll go ahead and just check the box to have IDR assess penalty and interest. Down below, it does give you some instructions for calculating that penalty and interest, including the 2 types of penalties, which is both the 5%. You can have a total of 10% penalty overall, and then how to calculate interest. This hyperlink down here for view interest rates, this will take you to the department's homepage where you can see all the interest rates, current interest rates, as well as prior interest rates throughout the history of the department. Now, after completing this, we'll go ahead and click next to continue. Now we'll be prompted to review our submission prior to submitting it. Just confirms the amounts that we've entered in for our tax return and the total amount tax due. You'll want to double check that. If you need to make any corrections, you have 2 options. You can use the previous button to go back page by page. Otherwise, there's a breadcrumb trail up here that you can jump straight to the screen that you need to find, that you will need to make the adjustments on. So it's really up to you on which method you want to use. But again, you can go back by clicking the links up top on the certain page that you need to make adjustments to, or use that previous button down here at the bottom. Everything looks good to me, so we're going to go ahead and click next to proceed. Next is the how would you like to pay screen. So you're prompted 2 options to make a payment. It tells us the amount due. We have $165 amount due for this quarter. We can schedule a payment now. this will prompt the user to enter their payment information prior to submitting their return. Now, users, even though it's a scheduled payment now, you can postmark date your payment for the return. And one thing to note now is this is a change from e-file and pay, but users have until 11:59 p.m. to submit their payment on the due date to have it postmarked for that current date. So again, if you e-file and pay had a cutoff, I think it was like 4:30 or 3:30 in the afternoon. But now this GovConnect Iowa extends that payment time out to 11:59 p.m. to be made for that current day. So if you want to schedule a payment now or have it pulled out today, you can certainly click this schedule payment now option, and it'll take you to the make a payment screen where you enter your payment information. The other option is to pay after return submission. Now, this option would be used by those who want to pay via credit card, who want to pay via paper check, or if maybe they just want to come back at a later time they don't have time to go through all the payment screens and submit that through. So at the end, if you choose the pay after submission option, you will be presented with the opportunity to print a voucher to send your check in. So again, this is either one works. We're going to go ahead and choose the pay after return submission and click next. Now it will, before submitting it, it's going to make you just review that the total amount due and just kind of advising that you're not submitting a payment, so you will have a remaining balance due. If everything looks good, we'll simply click submit. Now, in order for you to submit the return, it does require you to re-enter your web logon password. This serves as like an electronic signature for that return. So we'll just simply enter in our password here. After entering that in, we'll click OK. And it's going to take us to our confirmation page. Now, it'll confirm the date and time that this was submitted, give you your confirmation number. We talked about that print voucher and return. We have that option to do it right here. It also provides the make a payment link and OK. Now, you do not need to reprint this confirmation number because, as we'll discuss a little bit later here, you can reprint the submission or view these submissions in GovConnect Iowa, and you'll be able to obtain that confirmation number as well. So it's up to you if you want to print it for your records to have a hard copy. Otherwise, it will be stored in GovConnect Iowa. We'll go ahead and click OK, which takes us back to our quarterly returns and deposits. So that was the process of filing a quarterly return. We're going to go ahead and go back to do a monthly deposit now. So I'm going to click in the top left-hand corner. There's a little hyperlink next to the arrow. You can use that to move back. So again, we'll start back on the summary screen here. So again, we're going to go to our sales tax, and we're going to file or view or amend returns. And again, since this is a monthly filer, we are presented this interim page where we can select quarterly or deposits. We're going to go ahead and click on the make a deposit payment. Now, one thing to note with the monthly and semi-monthly deposits, if you did not collect any sales tax for that month or semi-month, you do not need to file a zero deposit. The system will not allow you to do so. You will just simply skip that month or semi-month and move on to the next tax period. And if you collect sales tax that next period, then you'd want to submit your deposit. Now, the first thing we'll be taken to is the deposit form. You'll have to select a deposit range. Now, it's only going to list the first 2 months or the first few semi-months, depending on your filing frequency, because again, the last period will be submitted on your quarterly return. So we'll go ahead and just select the November 2021 to November 30th of 2021 deposit range. We'll have to enter in the tax amount that was due. We'll just go ahead and enter $900 here. Any applicable local option sales tax. Just add 90 because we're in Des Moines, it's a 1%. And then it'll give us our total payment amount. Now, this is a little bit different than our e-file and pay system. So you're just entering the tax. You're not actually entering your gross sales to compute that tax. After entering your information, we will simply click next to proceed. And now it takes us to the payment screen. So again, we can, the same options are presented as before. We're going to go ahead and do the schedule a payment with the bank account to walk through that just to submit this deposit form. Now, if you your first time submitting a return or submitting a return and making a payment, it's going to prompt you to enter in your bank account information. Otherwise, if you've already used, after you've entered in the information, it will prompt you and ask you if you want to save the bank account for future reference, which is a cool feature. So next time you come in, you won't have to re-enter all that information. You can simply click on this default option up here, and it will give you the bank that you entered previously. I'm going to use the default just to expedite this, as we do cover payments in the next webinar. From there, again, it's going to confirm our tax period that this is going to be applied to. You'll notice it's the quarterly tax period. Well, it confirms the payment date and the amount, and then we just simply have to key in the payment amount to confirm what we're going to be paying here. After that, we'll click next. We'll review our deposit submission, showing that the amount due, tax paid, and remaining balance. If everything looks good, we can click submit. And again, we're prompted to enter in our web logon password as a form of our electronic signature. So we'll enter that, and then we'll click OK to proceed. Similar to our quarterly return, we're given a confirmation page with everything that confirming all the information from our transaction, and we can either print that or click OK. Again, this is saved in our in GovConnect Iowa, so you can view using the submissions and manage payments information, which we will be covering right after this. We'll go ahead and click OK to continue. Now, that's how you file quarterly returns and monthly and semi-monthly deposits for your self-filers, or even for those you see for your accountants and stuff like that who are doing it one by one. We did not cover bulk filing in this session in this webinar. Bulk filing is a completely separate process, and it's a little bit more complex. You do need to create a certified service provider web logon to have access to that bulk file option, and you must be a registered bulk filer. If you were previously a bulk filer before we switched to GovConnect Iowa, you're still a bulk filer. You do not need to re-register. So you still have that bulk filing option. You just need to create a web logon as a certified service provider to gain access to that bulk file option. The next thing we're going to talk about is some cool tools on GovConnect Iowa. It's the submissions and returns and payments. So this is, now that we filed those returns and deposits, let's walk through how we can find those transactions in GovConnect Iowa, since we didn't print out the confirmation pages. So we're going to start by going to the More tab up here on the top of the page. When we come here, down on the far left-hand, on the left-hand side, we have two panels. We have submissions and we have returns and payments. These are going to be the two areas that we can use to find the transactions that have been processed through GovConnect Iowa. We're going to start with the search submissions by clicking on the search submissions hyperlink here. Now, the difference between the two links is the search submissions are going to show all the transactions that were completed by your web logon. So if you have an employee that has their own web logon and they complete a transaction, you're not going to see underneath submissions, because this is stuff submitted by your web logon. Now, when we first access the submission screen, you're going to notice that we have 3 tabs. First one you'll default to is the pending. This is going to show all the transactions that have been processed today and that have been submitted today, and they're still pending to be worked or processed by the department. So you can actually go into these and edit them. You can delete them or pull them back out, if you will, if that's what you want to do. Simply to do that, we're just simply going to click on the hyperlink for the title of the transaction we want to pull back. So we'll go ahead and jump into this follow your deposit schedule. When we do that, it's going to show us all the screens that we completed for that transaction. Up top, again, there's our confirmation number and submission date and time and by who submitted it. Now, again, we can click through to view each of the screens that we went through down here by using the previous and next. You can delete it at this point, or you can print your information. Now, deposits are not able to be edited. However, if we went into our quarterly return, we could certainly go back and make changes to that. To go back, we'll just simply click on the submissions hyperlink up here in the top left-hand corner. And again, once you delete it, they will fall off of the pending tab and will be added to the deleted tab over here. So you'll still be able to see those transactions. They just will not be processed by the department. Now note that most of these transactions will be processed at midnight during that business day. So you typically have till the next business day to get those processed or to get those pulled back or edited or deleted. The next tab we'll go through is the processed. Now these are all the transactions that have been completed by the department. They've been loaded in our system and are being processed. So you're not able to edit any of these. However, you can go through and view them and view all the screens similar to the pending tab. To do that, we can simply just click on the hyperlink for the return that we want. And it looks just like our pending screen where we can click through and view all the different transactions. To go back, we'll click submissions. So again, this is the view submissions. This is where you can go to view all the transactions that you submitted using your web logon. But again, if you're wanting to view transactions for the entire business, because maybe there's multiple people that file on behalf of your business, you're going to want to come back to that More tab, and we're going to come down to Returns and Payments. Now, this panel is going to list where you can access and view all those transactions for all of the accounts. We'll go ahead and click on Returns and Payments to view them. Now, it is good to note that you will only be able to view the transactions that your web logon has access to. So if you only have access to withholding or only to sales, you're only going to be able to see those sales tax transactions. Admin users, you should most likely have access to everything. So you'll be able to see all transactions in the system here. Now, you'll notice there's 3 panels up at the top here that provide drop-down menus. You'll want to use these to filter your results because again, if we have returns, it's defaulted to show returns and not filed. So you will want to change that to see any ones that have been filed or processed. Or you can select all to make sure that you are able to see what you're looking for. You can sort by tax periods or by tax account as well to, again, filter out exactly what you're looking for. Once you've found what you're looking for, you can simply just click on that hyperlink for the status, and it will walk you through similar to that submission screen here. I don't know what happened there.
It looks like the test environment just got mad at you, Chet.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. But if you click on that in the live site, it's going to take you back to where you'll be able to see this screenshot by screenshot of that transaction and see all the data that you entered in, including the total due. It'll walk you through all the screens, and you can print those off at your leisure. So that's the Manage Payments and Returns section. So again, you have 2 different ways of finding information, depending on if you're looking for your submissions that you process through the GovConnect Iowa, or if it's something that maybe another employee submitted, you'll want to use the applicable option here. Now, since we still have time, I do want to walk through one other cool feature on here, which is the letters panel over here on the right-hand side. Now, this is a really cool feature in the fact that you can actually view all the letters that have been sent by the department to your business by clicking on the View Letters hyperlink. I don't have any in here to show, but if you click that link, any letters that we have sent to you since GovConnect Iowa has rolled out will be available on here, and you can actually view those. And they will be available as soon as the department processes it. So if we mail out a new access code letter to maybe one of your employees and they're waiting for it, or maybe it's one of your third-party accountants that are trying to gain access, you can come here and pull up that access letter and gain access to that access code without having to wait for it in the mail. It's a quick process. And again, or if you need, maybe you misplaced a letter. Maybe you misplaced a letter for regarding a change on your return that the department did. You can come here and view that letter if you lost it in the mail or you misplaced it, and you can reprint it or view it here. So again, a cool feature that's that's unique to GovConnect Iowa that was not available on eFile and Pay.
Awesome. So Chet, we are right at the end of time for this portion, and we'll need to be moving on to payments and payment plans. So I think there's just a couple quick questions we want to address. I think Emily mentioned we'd seen a lot of questions about the rounding and the cents.
Yes.
Entering. Emily, thoughts on that?
Yeah, so in GovConnect Iowa, you can report exact amounts. We don't need to round to the nearest dollar anymore. In fact, IDR would encourage that you move to doing exact amounts, and payments can still be made for those exact amounts as well. So just wanted to clear that up. And then another question that we're getting a lot of is, I filed an e-file and pay, but it's not showing in GovConnect Iowa. Those two systems are not going to communicate with each other immediately. So if you filed something in e-file and pay, but you're still seeing an action item in GovConnect Iowa, that's okay. You don't need to file again. Eventually, once it's processed on the back end, that'll sync up, and we hope that that action item will go away for you. But you can just dismiss it in the meantime.
Will things that have been paid previously, as like Joe was looking back at past things from e-file and pay, will those be able to be seen in GovConnect Iowa?
They will not. The past returns and payments won't show. You won't be able to download that summary of what you filed. But GovConnect Iowa will always show your most current account balance. So either the tax you owe or the tax that you can claim a refund for. So if you do want any of that history out of e-file and pay before it shuts down on February 4th of next year, we highly recommend going out and downloading it so that you have that on record for yourself.
Yep, so go out, grab those downloads so then you can keep them.
Yep.
Awesome. There's still a good number of questions in there that we'll either try to answer in the background or we won't be able to address right at this moment. Because Chet, we need to move on to payments and payment plans. So this is going to be our last short section for GovConnect Iowa today. As with all of them, it's going to be recorded and it'll be its own little video. As we have questions about the payments and the things that we're going to cover in this next 15-minute section, please do put those into the Q&A. We will also do our best to keep the chat updated with any of the links and things that are being mentioned. And again, Chad, I believe, are we doing some live demo on this too, or are we looking at slides?
Yep, it'll be a live demo. We're short on time, so we're going to jump right in here and get started.
Yep, go ahead.
Go a little bit fast. Okay, today we're going to be covering how to make a payment and set up a payment plan in GovConnect Iowa. Again, before we get started, note that this presentation is for general educational purposes only. So anything you see today is fictional data and on a fictional account. We're a little behind here, but just again, a brief overview of what we're going to cover is how to make payments, available payment options, and then creating a payment plan for outstanding balances owed. So we're going to go ahead and start by accessing the GovConnect Iowa webpage, and we're going to log in to our account. Once logged in, we will be taken to the summary tab where we'll be able to we'll see a listing of all of the accounts that you have access to for your user. We're going to go ahead and start by making a payment for the sales tax account. So we're going to scroll down and find the sales tax account panel here. And from here, we'll go ahead and make a payment. We're going to choose the make a payment hyperlink. Now, the first screen you'll see during this process is the payment type. Now, there's three options: pay an account balance, which will have this payment applied to the oldest tax period debt on file with us. The pay a period balance option, which will be applied, which means that you will select the specific tax period that you want that payment applied towards. And then we have make a return payment, which has you apply that payment will be applied to a specific return. The make a return payment will be mostly used for if you choose the pay later option after filing a return. For this demo, we're going to go ahead just to choose the make a return payment. I will note that these screens for each option are almost identical. There's not much difference between them. So no matter which one you choose, you're going to see a lot of these similar screenshots that we go through today. But after making your selection, we're going to go ahead and click next. You'll then be prompted to select an account that you're making a payment for. Kind of tricky because we just selected make a payment for sales, but again, it's just verifying that we want that we're making it for the sales account. So it's going to list all the accounts that your web logon has access to. Again, we're going to choose sales. It does tell us the balance and filing frequency and some other information about those accounts. But again, we're just going to make an account selection and then choose next. Next is we have to select a period. So again, it's going to confirm our account type, the permit number, and the account balance for this account. And then down below, it's going to give a listing of all the available periods that we can make a payment for. Now, note that the period you're going to make a payment for does not require to have, doesn't have to have a balance due. Because again, if you file a return, you know you're going to owe something, you can certainly click that option. But for this demo, we're going to go ahead and make a payment towards the first quarter tax period for 2021 that has an outstanding balance due of $5,000 here. After selecting our filing period, we're going to go ahead and click next to proceed. Now, next, we're going to go through entering the payment amount. So again, even though it shows a balance due of $5,300, we don't have to make that full payment amount. We can choose whatever payment amount we want. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter in a payment of $1,000 here. After entering the payment amount, we're going to select the payment method. We have two options. We can pay via a bank account payment, which comes out of a checking or savings account, or the credit card payment. Now, note that the credit card payment does have a 2.5% fee that's charged in addition to your payment amount. That fee will be included in the payment and it'll be listed separately so you can see the total amount of that fee. For today's demo, we're going to go ahead and choose the bank account payment method. Now, when you first come to make a payment, it's going to prompt you to enter your information for your bank. You have to use a U.S. bank to make a payment. You can't use a foreign bank, so it has to be a bank located in the United States. You'll notice it pre-populates the domestic bank here. You'll choose a bank account type. It can be either checking or savings, and then you'll have to enter your routing number. Now, note that after you enter in your routing number, it's going to pre-populate a bank name that is associated with that routing number. So after entering your routing number, please make sure that it does match the bank that you expect it to come out of. Otherwise, you will have some issues with that payment being rejected. Next, we will enter in our account number. It does make us enter it twice just to make sure we typed it in correctly to avoid any rejected payments causing any penalty and interest for the user. Now, at the bottom, after we've entered in our bank account information, it will prompt us and ask us if we want to save the bank account for future use. It's auto defaulted to no, but if we check yes, it gives us the option to either have the system name this default name the bank for us, which is the name of the bank, or we can choose no, and we can actually rename it. What'll happen is if you do this, it's going to save that bank account information on file. So the next time you come in, you can actually choose it from this option up top and from a drop-down menu. So you don't have to rekey in the information every time you come to make a payment. So we're going to go ahead and save this bank account for future use. And then we're going to scroll up here. And now we need to enter our payment information. So again, the payment date's going to auto-populate to today's date. We can change that by using the calendar. I'll leave it as today's date, but it will auto-populate to today's date for all payments unless you change it. Next, again, it tells us the amount we're going to pay. This pre-populates from that prior screen we were just on. So if you do need to make any changes, say you decided you don't want to pay the full $1,000, we can either use that previous button down here in the bottom of the screen, or we can come back up here and click on the payment amount hyperlink on our breadcrumb trail up here to move back. Either option works. We're going to stay here and make that $1,000 payment. So we just have to confirm that payment amount so the system knows we're good with the $1,000 payment. Once finished there, we'll go ahead and click next to proceed. After that, it's going to prompt us to review and submit the payment before we can send it through. Again, confirms the amount to be paid and where it's going to be applied to. So it knows it's going to that permit number and that first quarter sales tax return, and then all the payment information that we entered in previously. If everything looks good, we'll go ahead and click submit. Now, prior to this payment being submitted, we do have to enter in our web logon password, which serves as an electronic signature, giving us approval to process this payment. So after we click OK, we'll be sent to our confirmation page. So again, it's going to just reconfirm all the information we entered in for this payment. You can click on the printable view button here to print off this confirmation page. Otherwise, if you don't, just remember it is saved on the More tab under the Submissions and the Manage Payments and Returns hyperlinks down there on those panels. So you don't need to print this off unless you like a hard copy for your records. Otherwise, GovConnect Iowa does save all those transactions on your behalf, which you can view later on. We're going to go ahead and click OK, and that completes the process of making a payment. So, Patrick, do we have enough time to go through payment agreements?
Yep, let's go ahead and go through those.
Okay. All right, to do a payment agreement, we're gonna access the More tab up here, and then we need to come down to the Returns and Payments panel here. Now, you'll notice there's a hyperlink for a request a payment agreement. So if you have an outstanding balance due, like we did on our sales tax account we just made a payment towards, we have the option to set up a payment plan without contacting the department. So we can get ahead of the game and set up a monthly payment plan with the department. To do that, we're gonna click on Request a Payment Agreement. Now, the first screen you're going to be taken to is the liability due. It's going to list all the liabilities that are outstanding for this account. And again, this could have multiple tax types, but it's going to be tied to that business. The Iowa Department of Revenue is now requiring that all liabilities for a business be wrapped up into one payment plan. So again, if you have a motor fuel balance due that's outstanding, it'll be included in this as well. But this screen is going to list all the liabilities that are going to be included in this payment agreement, and it'll also give you a total balance due. So again, there's no way to change the accounts that are listed here. So we're going to go ahead and click Next. The next step is to select your monthly payment date. Before you make a selection, it's important to note this statement in red down below where it says payment first due date must be between December 12th and January 18th of 2022. So again, your first payment can't come out for at least 4 days, and the latest you can submit a payment date to come out is January 18th. If neither one of these dates work for you, like say you want to start it's coming out today, or you want it to come out starting in February, you will either have to contact the department, or you will have to wait if you want a future date that payment past January 18th and come back into GovConnect Iowa to set up that payment plan. So again, you only have this is the only time period you can start your payment agreement on. So I'll go ahead and click on the calendar, and we'll just select December 20th for our payment date. Now again, this is the date that your payments will come out every day of the month. So we choose the 20th, the payment will be deducted from our account on the 20th of each month. We'll go ahead and click Next to continue. Now you'll be prompted with 3 different payment agreement options: a 3-month, 6-month, and 12-month agreement. It does give you a breakdown of each plan, total interest paid, what you'll pay interest monthly, and then also kind of a cool feature here is it tells you how much you're saving if you choose the 12-month versus the 3-month or 6-month. So we try to educate you as much as possible as to the financial implications of the agreement that you choose. Now, if none of these work for you, you can come down here to the Customize an Agreement option and select that. And we're actually going to walk through that real quick here as these steps just take us to the submission screen. So we'll click on Select a Custom Agreement because we want to choose our own payment plan. Now, you will be prompted to figure out how you want to calculate your payment agreement. You can choose by number of months. If you choose number of months, you do have to select from the drop-down menu the number of months you want the payment plan to extend for. So basically your loan term, in other words. Now, based on your balance owed, this may change. However, the maximum payment term will be 36 months. So you'll never be able to go out past 36 months using GovConnect Iowa. And again, this may be lower depending on the balance owed. We also have the fixed amount per month. Again, depending on your balance, there is a minimum payment requirement because you have to pay it within 36 months. So if I enter $150 here for a monthly payment plan, it's going to tell you right off the bat if that amount's too low. At that point, you just need to increase it to where you got it the system to accept it. So because again, the balance has to be paid off within 36 months for the system to accept it. So after selecting our payment, how we're going to calculate our payment, we'll go ahead and click Next. Now the user is going to be given the amortization schedule of this payment plan. Again, it's going to show the beginning payment date and how the payments will be applied throughout the life of this payment plan, the amount of interest, and how the balance decreases for each payment. A really cool feature that you can view and kind of gives the user a better idea of how the money is going to be applied and how long it'll take them to get that paid off. Again, there's no way to change this. So if they want to make any changes because they don't like what they see here, they can use that previous button. Otherwise, we'll click Next to proceed. Now, lastly, we have to choose a bank account to have the payment come out. Now, if you're setting up a payment plan through GovConnect Iowa, it does require you to tie it to a bank and have that payment withdrawn from a bank, checking or savings account. So for this one, we're going to go ahead and, since we saved our previous information, bank account information, you notice we have the option to choose or add a new one. We're going to use the choose option here, and we have 2 different bank accounts on file, so I can select whatever one I want. And so I'm going to go ahead and choose the bank account I used last time. Again, it'll confirm that bank name and then the last 4 digits of that bank account number. If everything looks okay, we'll go ahead and click next. Again, gives us another opportunity to review what we're about to set up for an agreement. Confirms our payment amounts, total amount being paid to the department, and then our bank account information here over here on the right. If everything looks okay, we can go ahead and click submit. And just like our payments, we are required to enter in our web logon password again as a electronic signature, and then we'll click OK. And we'll get a confirmation page here, which you can print for your own records. Again, otherwise, this will be available to view on your submissions page. And we'll click OK to proceed. Now, note, this is a request for a payment agreement, so this does need to be approved by the department. So even though you submit this, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be approved. The department does have to review it, and they will confirm that it is an active payment agreement, and you should get a letter in the mail either way, if it's approved or if there's some type of issue with it. We'll be reaching out to you either way to confirm our decision. But that makes up the payments and payment agreement webinar. Patrick, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Chet, for going through all that for us. We've got about 10 minutes left for just sort of general Q&A. So from everyone that's stuck with us most of the day, we appreciate you being here. We're just about to the end. Again, both of the live demos that Chet just went through are going to be recorded and available on Iowa Sourcing for you to watch later. And he's got the slide up right there that's got both the phone and emails that you can reach out to with questions. So if we don't get to your question now, we'll either be able to try to follow up with you after the webinar, or you can submit it directly to the department. So jumping into some of these Q&A, maybe an easy one is, as a bulk filer, can you save bank accounts?
No, unfortunately not, because that is an upload method where you are actually, you're uploading the file to transmit to us. So there's no way to save those bank accounts.
Nope, that works for me. I mean, if it was me, I'd like to use Chet's bank to make all of my payments. I saw that's what you call yours, but I don't think that's probably possible. So for that one, bulk filers cannot save bank accounts in the upload method. So then we've also got Emily and Jerica and Terry here with us. Are there other questions you want to make sure we cover in our last couple of minutes today, Emily?
Yep, when you're making a payment through GovConnect Iowa, if your bank requires a bank filter or a company ID number, that did change when we moved to GovConnect Iowa. I will throw the number in the chat right now. So you'll see the ID for GovConnect Iowa and then eFile and Pay's ID. We've also had quite a few questions about, can I still use eFile and Pay? Can I use both systems? The answer to both of those questions is yes. eFile and Pay will continue to be available through February 4th of 2022. You can still file and pay using both systems, but IDR highly recommends switching over to GovConnect Iowa so that you can utilize all these awesome new tools that we have. And GovConnect Iowa does allow for scheduling of payments, which I know is something that is sorely missed in eFile and Pay now that it's no longer available. So the sooner you switch over, the better. And remember that eFile and Pay will be shut down for sales, use, and withholding taxes after February 4th. So if there's any information in there that you want on record for yourself, please make sure to download it, save it to your computer, whatever you need to do before we lose access.
Sounds good. Terry, I see you unmuted. Terry, is there a question you want to answer?
Nope, clicked on the wrong button.
All right, hey, that's okay, man. I'm just out here trying to help. Let's see.
I will say there's some W-2 questions on here. So W-2 will be shut off on eFile Pay, so your W-2 submissions have to go through GovConnect Iowa. And we've seen some questions. I'm seeing questions about which permit number you use, because you might have noticed if you've logged into GovConnect Iowa that the account numbers or permit numbers are different than what might be different than what you're used to seeing, or for your clients. Again, we did go to a new format, but we will accept both the old withholding permit numbers and new ones for bulk file upload. And that goes for sales and withholding and all bulk filing methods for that matter. That won't be forever, but for the time being, we're accepting both the new 9-digit permit numbers and the old 12-digit numbers for withholding.
Melissa had a question that says, when are you switching estimate payments over to GovConnect Iowa? Corporate income payments will be available in November of next year, so November of 2022. And then we are currently scheduled to move individual income estimated payments in November of 2023. So we'll get new functionality about once a year for the next couple years.
I did see a couple of questions in here maybe you can address regarding the business name on the confirmation pages. Is that when I don't know if Chad, if you hit the printable view, when you hit that printable view, will it include the business name of what you're submitting the payment for on that confirmation page?
If it's the return and they're trying to print a voucher, it would. Otherwise, the print view will just list the information from that page that you've seen on the confirmation page.
Gotcha.
And I know that we're currently looking into adding that on that printable view. I believe it shows for a couple different requests through the system, but we'll get it added to all of them relatively soon.
We did not cover consolidated permit filings. It would be very similar to e-file and pay, and to what you've seen today. Only you'll have a screen where you'll be able to manually enter in the sales and goods consumed and all that by location, rather than just having the one screen where we had just to enter the sales and goods consumed on one spot. It'll list each location that consolidated permit is tied to, and it will allow you to enter it in by each location. Yeah. For time purposes, we didn't cover that, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And then Melissa had another question too, just to make sure that everyone's clear. Only certain portions of e-file and pay are being shut down in February. Other things like those features that Emily just talked about will still be e-file and pay until they're moved to GovConnect Iowa. Can you just recap that one more time, Emily?
Yep. Sales, use, and withholding taxes will be removed from e-file and pay after February 4th of 2022. Estimated payments for corporate income and estimated payments for individual income will continue to be available until we move those over into GovConnect Iowa. So you can continue to use e-file and pay to make those payments.
So as of February 4th, all business taxes you're going to have to move to GovConnect Iowa to do your file, make payments and file.
Yep.
Okay. We're pretty much at the end. So if we weren't able to get to your question, we've got them documented, we've got them saved, and we'll make sure that we can share those with the department. I can make sure that any of those FAQs can get updated on the website. If you do have specific questions for your individual account or business or anything like that, please reach out with the contact information that is currently up on the slides, through phone, email, to make sure you get those questions answered. We appreciate everyone that hung with us for all day today, looking at all the different systems and ways to access and use GovConnect Iowa, spanning across 4 different state agencies, from the University of Northern Iowa, Iowa SourceLink, and Iowa Economic Development Authority. We're glad to have been able to support and help with this. All of the recordings will be made available on iowasourcing.com. You will also get an automatic email from the Zoom webinar system, and that can be used as your sort of proof of attendance. It's also going to come with links to where you can get all of the slide decks as well as watch the recordings. So be on the lookout for that in your email, and we'll be able to make sure that everyone's getting all that information. Big thanks to Emily, Jerica, Terry, and Chet from the Department of Revenue team, who really spearheaded putting especially this presentation together. And again, another thank you to Lisa, Mark, and Mary from the other state departments that came and shared their information with us today. This is pretty much the end of the webinar season for 2021. So be sure to stay tuned, and hopefully we'll be back with additional webinars in 2022 as we continue to try to keep you guys informed with different changes, whether it be on policy, procedure, or technology. So with that, Emily or Chet, any final thoughts as we sign off today?
Nope. Thanks for your time, Patrick. If you guys do have questions, by all means, please reach out to the department. We are here to help you as we transition into GovConnect Iowa.
Awesome. Well, hope everyone has a happy, healthy, and safe holiday season and a happy new year. And we'll see everybody hopefully again on an Iowa SourceLink webinar sometime in 2022. Until then, take care.
Everybody.